Hey out there. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy. The person you hear laughing hysterically in the background is my esteemed co-host, Marty Worm. Marty, how are we doing this fine evening?
Oh, I'm better now.
Good to hear it. Marty had a little case of the holiday blues, so I figured I'd festive up the place a little bit and help bring him out of his funk tonight.
Yep.
And here to assist me with that is one of everybody's favorite YouTube personalities, Ken from Ken's Death Metal Crypt. Ken?
I thought you were talking about somebody else. Hey, everybody.
How's it going, man?
Oh, if I was any better, I couldn't stand it.
Good to hear. Has everybody had a nice Thanksgiving?
Sure.
It was pretty good. Pretty good, actually. There's many people that were here and in-laws. And nobody got offended. Nobody left, in a hurry. And, it was actually pretty chill.
Good deal. Everybody survived the Black Friday lines, or did we all just stay inside and order records online?
Stayed at home.
We went out. My wife and I went out
and braved the elements?
Hours. We did, and it wasn't bad at all.
Really?
No.
Very cool. Yeah. My wife used to do the whole 4 a.m., 5 a.m. thing every year, but she's kind of gotten away from it over time. But to everybody out there, I hope you're also having a good holiday with the extended weekend. Lots of food, lots of family, lots of football, lots of stuff on sale. We're not going to talk about how many records I've ordered in the past 24 hours because that would just be kind of sad and if we revealed numbers, which we're not going to do. But what we are going to do tonight is talk about some of our favorite releases from 1984. Ken was kind enough to join us for the stream this evening, and so we're like, Ken, pick a year, any year, except for Y2K, since we'd already covered that one in a previous episode. And Ken wasted no time in singling out 1984 as the year that he wanted to talk about some of his favorite records from. Ken, why did you pick 1984?
I just felt it was a stacked year. Looking back, just what a wonderful time. I was almost going to pick 85 to say, well, let's go in the middle. Let's start in the middle of the decade there, 85. And then I remembered, my favorite band of all time had their release in 1984. And I think that's what kind of tilted me towards 1984. But then just pulling out my list and pulling these records out to talk about them, what a wonderful time it was to have been into metal in 1984.
It was a year of exploration for me.
Oh,
growth and exploration.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So,
I think, and talking with a lot of folks, here and there over the years, 84 is usually cited as like, one of the two best years for heavy metal releases. That, a lot of folks point to 1986 maybe as being the kind of highlight for heavy metal history, but 84 gets an awful lot of votes too, as we're going to see tonight. There's just tons of classic albums, top-notch stuff by a lot of bands. And there were some trends. Things were changing a little bit in terms of, where the epicenter of the heavy metal movement was located on Earth. And I'm sure we'll see that pattern emerge as we talk about some of our records tonight. But anything else y'all would like to say in terms of introduction? Where was everybody at in 1984 for some perspective?
Just entering high school, freshman in high school.
Freshman in high school. Marty, what about you?
I was 13 years old. And
13?
Transitioning from, Kiss. I mean, I grew up worshiping Kiss. And some of the styles of music, as I will show, there was one specific record that kind of opened my eyes to the heavier side of things. But I mean, I was still listening to a lot of what you could say is mainstream hard rock, hair metal, maybe a little bit. Thankfully, the heavier stuff saved me before I fully fell into the hair metal chasm. But I mean, I was a product of going over to a friend's house that lived in town that had MTV. And, you could still see Kiss and Dio and videos on MTV, and was very influenced by all that. And, just kind of grew from there. But we'll get into that as we get into this.
That we will. Yeah. And one thing that's is a good point to make there, Marty. 84 things in metal are starting to diverge into some categories a little bit. But overall, a lot of stuff was still just kind of lumped in this big bin of heavy metal. You had a thrash scene developing, and you definitely had some bands that were leaning more commercial friendly, a little more Hairspray and stuff, but everything wasn't divided out into such, very distinct camps just yet by 1984. If people were listening to something like Slayer, they were probably also very aware of, bands like, Rat or Motley Crue or Lizzie Borden at the same time. So yeah, it's very different from today where you've got, 1,000 micro genres and everybody's very narrowly focused on a few things. 84, a lot of it's still just called heavy metal, and most folks were pretty fine with that.
Yep.
Yeah. But there was a tendency, and you mentioned Slayer, which is a great example of where metal was going to in its extremities, know. We can talk more about that as we show the releases.
Right on.
Absolutely. All right. Was there anything else that folks would like to introduce tonight? We're not doing a really long introduction, folks, because everybody knows and loves Ken. But Ken, if there is anything that you've got coming up that you'd like to promote, any special guests coming over to the crypt in the near future, you're more than welcome to let folks know about it.
No.
Tomorrow night. You have a show tomorrow night. You have a stream tomorrow night.
No, I know. Yeah. Thanks, Marty. Yeah, I got the fellas from Infested. They're a California-based band. My good buddy Chris Johnson and company. Chris is the father of Sewer Rot Records, and he is the guitarist, vocalist of Infested. They just released their first demo on Sewer Rot Records, just released, and we're going to have a chat with those fellas about, and they're all in different bands, like the other two members in that band, they're a power trio, and we're going to have a discussion with them tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time.
Awesome.
Check it out.
Absolutely. Everybody should be over there tomorrow to check that out for sure. Always really good discussions on Ken's streams.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. Well, without further ado, it sounds like we're ready to talk 1984, and I have a feeling folks have a lot of records they want to talk about. So, Ken, why don't you start us off with something?
All right. Well, I think right off the bat, I think people would probably expect that I'm going to show my favorite band of all time because they released it. They did have a release in 1984, but I'm going to save that or let.
I was going to get it ready. I was going to pull it out at the same time.
Well, I'm going to let somebody else, because I want to go a little bit more to what I was talking about, to the extremities of metal, and some bands and releases that maybe were starting to help. Like Alan said, everything was kind of lumped together, but if there were some bands that were taking the realms of heavy metal into a more extreme place, I felt. And one of those bands was Celtic Frost and Morbid Tales. Now, what this record did for, in my opinion, death metal, black metal, and just taking heavy metal and metal to a more extreme place. There you go. We all had it. It most certainly had a huge impact on where extreme metal is today, even. And I don't think there's a soul that is into death metal today that couldn't give thanks to a band like Celtic Frost and an EP like Morbid Tales, Into the Crypt of Rays, Procreating the Wicked, Dethroned Emperor, Morbid Tales. One of my favorite releases of 1984. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't, again, going back, I wasn't exposed to, like heavy metal until 1983, so about a year before. Now, I did not buy this in 1984. I probably didn't buy this till like 85, 86. So probably a year and a half later after its release, I actually bought it. So, a lot of the stuff, and then now there were a couple records I did buy, but keep in mind, I was 13, 14 years old, so I didn't have the means to go out and buy every single record that was being released in 1984. So I didn't get some of these until a few years later. But, this one, I didn't probably get, like I said, till about a year, year and a half later. And what an impact it had. And the reason was the first heavy metal record I ever bought was Venom's Welcome to Hell. And seeing the picture of Venom's Welcome to Hell, and then when I started buying music, metal magazines like Metal Forces, I was trying to look for bands that looked like Venom. And, looking at a picture like that, I kind of figured it would be something extreme and something like that. So Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales, man, you cannot, nobody can argue that album.
You can't beat it. And for me, it was, I'm along with you. I probably didn't get that album until 90 or 85. But when I heard it, holy shit, that opened up new realms of heavy. You know, I'd never heard Hellhammer until later. And honestly, I prefer Celtic Frost over Hellhammer. I mean, Hellhammer is, for me, is charm. There's a lot of charm to Hellhammer. But I think they really started to figure out, you know, their instruments and what they were doing a lot more on that album. And like you said, it influenced a whole genre, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's still considered, you know, highly influential. You hear tons of Celtic Frost and Hellhammer and lots of, you know, death metal bands still coming out to this day. It's a huge impact on the sound. And you're right, Marty. They, you know, they weren't virtuosos by this point, but they had definitely learned their lesson that they didn't want to be constantly pigeonholed as this, you know, band that was just noisy and couldn't play. And so they were definitely making big strides in terms of musicianship, songwriting. They had a plan now. They knew what they wanted to be, and they were rapidly heading that way. And they made a kick-ass album in 1984 as a result of it, for sure.
They practiced all the time too, which helps. I mean, you play your instrument all the time. That's all you do. You inadvertently get good at it. You know, whether you want to or not, it's what happens. You get used to it.
Can't help but improve.
No.
Yeah, but no, an awesome album can absolutely. Well, depending on which day you ask me, arguably my favorite Celtic Frost release. It's definitely the one I play the most.
100% my favorite. My favorite from Celtic Frost. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's till this day. You know, it's like classic's not even a word for it. You know, I can't think of a word to describe it. It's more than a classic. It's you know, genre. I don't know if you could say genre defining, because I don't know if it define a genre. I mean, or a subgenre. I don't know, but more technical than that.
It's part of the DNA at this point. I think all of us could throw that record on and know every note and scream and gurgle on that damn thing. It's like not a surprise anymore, but it's still fun to listen to.
No. Every grunt.
I will say though, I think I was very impressed with Monotheist. To the point where typically when I reach for Celtic Frost these days, it's that album. I think that album is the art piece that they always strive to make. And they did so. They walked the line between avant-garde artistic statement and Celtic Frost formula. There's some songs that are way out there and strange, but even on Morbid Tales, you've got Dance Macabre.
That's an instrumental, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just a la 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 going on and on and on. I mean, they had avant-garde elements from the beginning, but it just seems like on Monotheist they had the maturity and the skill and the production values. They nailed it. Whereas everybody rants and raves about Into the Pandemonium as this big artistic statement. Man, God, this might be a hot take, but that album to me is so overblown. I think the band thinks it's better than it is. I mean, you start off with Mexican Radio, you start off the album with a shitty cover, and there's just some bad songs on that record. Anyway, that's not 1984. Sorry, I'm rambling. See, I told you I'd do it.
That's okay. No, it's a good point. Monotheist is an amazing album, and yes, it's a great Celtic Frost album. You know, it just hits all the marks that you want that band to hit. I agree completely.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Allen.
All right. Well, Ken started at kind of the extreme end of where metal would head. I want to start kind of looking back at where metal had been up to 1984, and this is one of my favorites. It's the fourth and last album from Witchfind, Lords of Sin. Again, they made several albums throughout the new wave of British heavy metal. They were always kind of a B-tier band. I've always had a soft spot for them, but I am not going to claim they're one of the highlights of the new wave of British heavy metal or anything. But they were a band that got progressively better over time, whereas the later albums are actually much better than the first couple of albums, which is pretty rare in heavy metal circles. We all tend to prefer the demo over everything else, but this is a band where you want the later stuff. They got very good at making solid albums by the end. So yeah, personal favorite, really good track list on it. It's also, though, one reason I'm starting with this is it's going to be probably the only new wave of British heavy metal album I mentioned tonight, which by 1984, the new wave of British heavy metal wasn't technically over, but a lot of people felt like it had run its course, and that, you know, the British bands were past their prime. Some of them were becoming more mainstream. Some of them were already breaking up and fading away. The British music scene was kind of moving in other directions already. And as such, a lot of the big things that came out in 1984 are not from British metal bands. There's, you know, a couple of obvious exceptions we'll talk about, but it was coming down to, like, you know, the 2 or 3 behemoths were, you know, at the forefront, but all these other bands, they were kind of fading out of the scene more and more. The epicenter of heavy metal was not going to be the UK at this point. It was quickly shifting over to the United States. And I think we'll see that with a lot of the titles we picked tonight. At least I know in my stack, it's a ton of US metal and, you know, a few foreign releases too. But yeah, only I think this one British one made the stack tonight. So, you know, the new wave of British heavy metal had done its thing. It had a huge impact and influence. But by this point, you know, US bands had sprung up. They had learned those lessons. They had bought all those imports from Britain. And now that torch was getting passed. And so it was time for another country to really start defining heavy metal and what it was going to be like as we moved into the mid-1980s. So, yeah, I wanted to start with this one because it is a good album. It's definitely worth a shout-out in 1984. But it's, you know, it doesn't have a lot of peers on the British metal scene in that particular year.
I love the serious discussion with that fucking hat.
Oh, what, this thing?
I love it. I do want to.
Did I mention it sings and dances?
You did not.
Oh.
Must have slipped my mind.
Oh, yeah. CD Cole makes a good point here. It amazes me that in 84, something like Celtic Frost happened. Metal was still in its infancy basically in 84, and for extreme stuff to already be hitting showed how fast metal was moving. And that is a good point, because shit was changing. There was like a lot of things going on in 84 that was happening really fast. Metal was getting faster was another part. You know, it was kind of evolving out of the, you know, the quick polka beat into something a little more neck breaking, I guess you could say. Yeah. It is moving into darker territory sonically, and in lyrically. There's a lot of, you know, Venom so proudly started off in the Satanic Panic era, and a lot of bands followed suit after them, you know.
Yep. Well, I mean, it was a big thing with, you know, that early metal scene was always trying to be everybody wanted to be the most extreme band. And so, yeah, that envelope had to get pushed very rapidly because Venom, as you said, it already set, you know, a very high bar. So bands like Hellhammer had to try to one-up Venom. And then some of these other bands that I'm sure we're going to touch on, they had to start one-upping Hellhammer. And it was a very rapid progression. It was always, who can be the fastest? Who can be the, you know, most evil sounding? And that may sound a little weird to people today because we're well past that point of anybody trying to claim they're the loudest or the heaviest or whatever. But at the time, it really was an arms race to see, what was going to be just, you know, the fastest band in the world was an ambition that, you know, these kids were setting out to really be able to try to plant their flag and say, nobody's faster than us, or nobody, you know, drums as quick as we do. Nobody is as evil looking as we are. Yeah, it was a real thing. So metal did have to rapidly evolve. It went down that path pretty fast. You're absolutely right.
All right,
yeah, for sure.
Well, for me, I could talk about where it was, where it's going, but I figured in 1984, I'm 13 years old. I'm going to talk about where I was at with metal at that point. And I was still clinging on to my youth of Kiss. And this album came out, Analyze. It's got Mark St. John on guitar. Finds Kiss being a little more aggressive. You know, they did their failed experimental album. They dropped the makeup. You know, they had done an album to this previous where they dropped their makeup. So this was, you know, Kiss trying to find their way, looking tough, even though they're still hanging on to, you know, the poofed up hair and Revlon makeup products. But this is a decent album. I mean, I really tried to sell this album a lot to friends when I got it because I liked it a lot. I thought it was really heavy. It was fast.
Heaven's on Fire.
Heaven's on Fire's on here. Burn Bitch Burn is a good aggressive Gene song. Lonely as a Hunter is a good song. I Had Enough, Into the Fire, real aggressive intros. Start off the. It's a good album, but the writing was on the wall. What was coming, and this album I played a lot when I got it, but it didn't eventually. It didn't as 1984 progressed. Didn't really stick. As we will find out later.
No, I agree though. It was a good record. But yeah, I kind of agree. You know, I agree with you that when it first hit me, when I first listened to it, because I saw them, was it the following year on that tour? Or maybe it was like a couple years later, because because at that show they played Heaven's on Fire.
Yep. What was a hit for them? I think it might have been their single.
The stage lit up like that Christmas tree behind Alan. I mean, the whole place was, I mean, I'm surprised the place didn't catch on fire. There was so much pyrotechnics going on stage when they played that song. I mean, that whole stage lit up on fire. Yeah. It was the coolest thing, though, just listening to go into that song, Heaven's on Fire, and the stage just blows up into a ball of fire. It was actually very cool. I did like that. I like that. I have that on vinyl, too. I did like that record.
Hey, 61 people watching. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Ken, you're back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, keeping in the extreme of 1984, a record that absolutely scared the Jesus out of me. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't play it for probably another week after getting it because I didn't understand it. And I thought it was really scary. And it scared me, and until this day, it scares me. And we're going to talk about genre-defining records.
Yeah.
The first Bathory, with satanic overtones. Just how did you describe this in 1984? Again, another record I didn't get in 1984. Again, probably didn't get it until 85, 86. But even then, as a 15, 16-year-old, and had been exposed at that point to many metal records, metal albums, many metal releases, how do you describe this in 1984? You know, what do you do with this? Where do you put it? Obviously,
typically you put it in. Well, I mean, thrash was going, but not really going yet, I guess. So, well, where do you put it?
The only thing I can think of would be you said it next to Venom, and that's the only peer, that would jump to mind.
Well, later on, obviously, Marty. Well, I'm sure you know too, Alan. But we, later on, we call this the first wave of black metal.
Sure.
That's. But we didn't call that. We didn't call this black metal at its time. I don't think anybody. Honestly, well, that's another stream for you guys. Maybe when did we call first wave? Was it after
I called like Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. I always called that a thrash record. I know better.
You know what I mean, though? Like that's another stream for you guys. When did we call the first wave of black metal? Was it after the second wave of black metal? Anyways,
probably.
And today, playing this record, just still you get that same eerie feeling of what satanic metal. You the Quorthon's vocals, just at the time you thought he was like in agony screaming them, and just the whole thing. The goat here and just the whole 9 yards. The pentagram on the back, the whole satanic image. Another record that goes with, like you said, Marty, Morbid Tales. That's just classic isn't even a word for it. It's timeless. It's ageless, venomous. It's just Bathory all day.
I heard. I think my first Bathory I heard was The Return. A friend had it, and I didn't like it. I said, "This sucks, dude. It sucks. It's shitty." Then much later in the years, I ended up buying Hammerheart on tape in a store used. I loved it, and then I started backtracking, and eventually, so I was late coming to that stuff. But I called that shit thrash. I called possessed thrash. I mean, anything I didn't really understand, I lumped into thrash. It's kind of how I said it. Ooh, this is evil thrash. It's like black metal. Even though Venom coined the term, it didn't really, the genre defying statement didn't really stick with me. I mean, when I thought of black metal, I thought of Venom. I thought of the second Venom album. You know,
Mhm.
it was the title of an album, not a style of music, really.
Right.
It was weird, but
That's why I was meaning, like, when did first wave become first wave? I think it was when we decided there was a second wave with Emperor and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
after Nightside Eclipse, and
Yeah,
anyway,
those guys
that's a
made us start
totally
looking
different
back.
stream.
it was those bands that made us look back and where did this come from? Oh, it's this. It's clear
There
now.
you go.
Now that we've
Mhm.
seen where it ended up, we can see the path now. We
These
can
are the-
track
this
it back.
is-
But
Yeah.
at the time, fuck, I didn't know what the hell it was.
No, I didn't either. Like you said, it scared me, and then I didn't put it on for like a week or two after I bought it. I was like, this, you know.
And it was a real outlier. I mean, in its scene too. I mean, there were no peers in that, you know, in Sweden that were doing anything on that level at all. It's not like, you know, Sweden, of course, became a big thing for extreme metal, but that was much, much later. All the other Swedish bands at the time were much more in the new wave of British heavy metal mold. And then you had Bathory doing that. It was, just a complete anomaly.
I guarantee if Quorthon went to shows dressed like he was on those pictures that we saw in the metal magazines, he scared the piss out of people at those shows in Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
I get nobody talked to Quorthon. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Plus, he was like a
scared
giant.
everybody.
He was like
Yeah,
super tall. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
he scared. Not one person talked to him. They were all afraid of him.
Yep. All right, Alan.
All right. So, I got my new wave of British heavy metal fix out of the way for the night. And then to kind of highlight where metal was going, I definitely wanted to show this one, Metal Massacre 5. So this was the installment that came out in 84 on Metal Blade. And, you know, this, of course, you know, seminal compilation series that really helped establish a ton of great bands, give them their first exposure. Yeah, this volume from 84 it stands out from the volumes that came before it for the sheer number of bands that went on to big things. You know, when you look at the first 3-4 volumes, each one has, you know, a couple of bands that, you know, established a long career, and a couple of bands that maybe did an EP, and a couple of bands nobody ever heard of again. But the lineup on this one is just insane. You've got Omen, you've got Voivod, you've got Overkill, Fate's Warning, Metal Church, and Hellhammer, and Mace, and a few others that did multiple albums, you know, like Attacker, that still did well too. It's just an incredibly loaded compilation. And again, I think this harkens back to where America was becoming, you know, the forefront of the heavy metal scene. And a lot of these American bands were now solid enough. You know, they, you know, had the chops, they had the talent. They were becoming the new face of heavy metal moving forward. That, you know, this isn't a compilation where one band got the big break and all the others kind of got left in the dust. This is like all these guys got signed, or almost all of them. Almost all of these bands had an image and stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting volume for that. In terms of just sheer star power, it's far and away the most stacked of the Metal Massacre series. And I think it's, just a good indication of how heavy metal was really coming to its own in the United States in 1984. You know, before this, you had things that had built up. You had some really important things come out in 1983. But in 1984, the doors were getting kicked wide open, and these bands were really going to establish themselves long-term moving forward. So really important compilation that showed off a lot of these bands taking that first step.
Well done, Alan. Well done.
Thank you.
To show
Very well
that with all those representations. Yeah, good, cool. Hey, by the way, can I comment or no? I can't comment on that.
You have to. It's so dumb. You have to open. I can comment, but you have to open up a side YouTube.
If you have to YouTube open in another tab.
Yeah, open it in another tab.
Yeah, I'm trying
Gotcha.
to hop over and check the comments from time to time. But was there one you saw that you wanted to comment on, Ken?
Oh no! I just in general. I'm like, I can't comment. No, just in general. I was just seeing the comments rolling by, and I was like, maybe I'll comment, but
I don't know why StreamYard doesn't allow that function. You think it would be everybody in the chat should be into the stream should be able to comment on the chat, but anyway. Good call on that Metal Massacre stuff. For me, though, the Metal Blade comps that really resonated with me in my younger days were the best of Metal Blade. The best of Metal Blade comps.
Those are good too. Yep.
Volume 1 was a revolution for me. I mean, I heard so many great bands from that. That's the first time I heard Slayer. That was the first time I heard Omen. Lizzie Borden, a lot of that shit. And it's like, holy crap. There's another one of those I had to go buy everything that was on that damn comp.
Yep. Yeah, I did the same with, I forget which one I got first, if it was volume 2 or volume 3 from Best of Metal Blade. But yeah, I just started working my way down the track list, go to the record store every few weeks and buy another CD, buy another band, whichever one they had in.
Well, I guess it's my turn to jump in, and
yes, it is.
Everybody's talking about cool, heavy stuff, and I'm still stuck in this crap. But I'm gonna pull out a couple.
Quite okay.
Here's 2 that came out in '84. To this day, I still love the hell out of Rat. I don't give a shit what anybody says. This is good hard rock. They were one of those bands that, yeah, they were kind of trying to look a little hair metal-ish, but their music had a bit more of a street edge to it. A little more hard rock influence.
Rock and roll.
Yep. You've got Warren DeMartini, who's a shred fucking guitar player. Great songs. They wrote great songs. Stephen Pearcy had a very unique vocal style. This album, the one after it, Invasion of Your Privacy, which is my favorite, and Dancing Undercover, those 3 albums is a great run of records. If you want to try to dip your toe into that, definitely check that out. This album, Dokken, for me, I've never liked Don Dokken's voice. He has, a wimpy tone to his voice. I liked some of this. I like this album. This is probably of the early shit, the most aggressive. God, I haven't listened to this in so fucking long.
That's got some power metal overtones on it too.
It does. It really does. Tooth and Nail. The title track's a great song. Really aggressive. I don't know. This was the end was coming for this style for me for a very, very, very long time. It's only now that I'm starting. I mean, I just picked this up for $8 at the record shop downtown, 2 months ago. I'm starting to like revisit, because I'm getting older. I'm getting old, and nostalgia is starting to kind of creep into my listening habits, which is fine. But yeah, my next round, I'm gonna end on the last 2 more mainstream things before I start getting into the more heavy stuff. But yeah, I mean that style of music was where I was at. The transition was coming very, very quickly, though.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, and that's another great point.
Yeah,
to bring up about a band like Rat, who was they had huge rock and roll influence in their music for sure. But even especially the first album.
Oh yeah,
and then going in like you said, even like you said, Invasion of Privacy started getting a little tad bit more mainstream. Although I like that record. I have that on my own.
I like the way it's produced. It's got a very good atmosphere to it, and the songs.
That's a good record.
Fucking catchy.
Yeah.
Catchy.
Yeah. And again, Rat played right alongside all those other early LA bands on the Metal Blade roster.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very much part of that scene. It wasn't split up yet. They and Motley Crue played right alongside Armored Saint and Bitch.
They didn't last as long as they did because they were bad.
No, exactly. And they had some hits. I mean, Round and Round, obviously today, it was on a commercial. Was it a Geico commercial or something? I don't remember, but and it actually inspired their rankings on Spotify went through the roof.
Eric Bauer says Round and Round blows though.
Yep. But okay, Ken, you're back.
I'm back. All right. So staying within the extremity of metal, of course, because that's what we do here in the crypt. You guys mentioned this band, and I'm trying to remember if this was the first. This might have been the first thing I heard from them, and then from a friend, and then this is a record I did buy at the time of its release. The EP Monster in the Chapel. I mean, again, there you go. Yep, I figured Marty'd have it too. Again, just another one of those records. Like Morbid Tales and Bathory. I mean, thrash, more thrashy for sure, thrash, but getting an aggressive thrash. Much more aggression in their edge of thrash, and song titles, even bass lines, drumming, starting to they're hitting home with so much extremity and so much evil sounding riffing and just starting again, like Alan pointed out, the U.S. starting to pull away from what was being categorized as metal at the time with something like this. But Haunting the Chapel, man, this again, another classic's not the word. The classic isn't the right word for these kinds of releases. It's again timeless, priceless, ageless. Fucking Slayer, man. Just
fucking Slayer.
This EP though is really a band. Their first album, Show No Mercy, is my favorite Slayer album. It was very new wave of British heavy metal influence. The riffs, the speed of the songs, it was very much a product of that influence. This starts showing them kind of casting that aside a little bit. And really, is there a better song than Chemical Warfare? God,
that's my favorite on there. Yeah,
just a fucking raging song from any band. I mean, it was Slayer that did it though, and this set the tone for Hell Awaits. It set the tone for what was to come for a little while. I mean, I burn out on Slayer. I think what the hell's the one? Divine Intervention was the last one I got and went, okay, this is pretty okay. But after that, I could care less about Slayer, to be completely honest. But
agreed.
This shit is so fucking iconic. This is metalhead DNA. If this isn't in your DNA, there's something wrong. Of course, this comes from a guy that just showed a fucking Dokken record. So, you know, sue me, but
I got Dokken records too, man.
But you're not showing them. I'm the one that brought the balls. I brought the balls.
Dream Warriors, man.
Granted, I'm not the one wearing the turkey hat, but I brought the Dokken record.
Hey, Marty. You're welcome.
God damn it, Alan, I love you. All right, Alan's up. Turkey head.
All right. Well, I'll make you feel a little better here, Marty. I'll stray a little bit more towards that arena rock side too. Monster album that came out in '84 from a long-running band that had reinvented themselves really successfully in the 1980s. Love It for Sting, Scorpions. These days, it's of course, very, it's the cool hipster thing to do to only focus on their 70s material, which is fantastic stuff. I love this band's 80s output. Most of it is extremely good. A lot of those 70s metal / hard rock bands, they didn't survive the transition into the 1980s very well at all. Most of them petered out at the end of the 70s, or it really just turned into, a very commercial leaning FM radio kind of product. Scorpions, there's still great guitar work all over these. These are still, classic songs that you can, you love. Yes, they have gotten, run into the ground a bit on radio and commercials. None of us really need to hear Rock You Like a Hurricane again. That doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's just that we've heard it too much. But no, Scorpions during this time, they were still putting out, kick-ass albums. And that should not be forgotten just because they don't have the same, heavy, air about them of a Slayer or, those kind of bands. Yeah, this was still, absolute, front and center, huge metal release from 1984. Great album. Love it. Still play it quite regularly. I probably play Blackout more than this one, but again, I also, Love Drive is really good. Animal Magnetism is really good. Everything they've done, up through this point, they were still hitting home runs with pretty much every album.
Anybody else notice the Michael Jackson Beat It guitar line on that? It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. I can't, in your mind till I come back to love you. That one, I think. Whatever the hell the name of it is. But it's
yeah. Is it Coming Home?
I'd say Coming Home.
Yeah, I think it is. It's basically
home.
Almost note for note Beat It by Michael Jackson. It's the same speed, the same key, the same notes. It's like real fucking close. I heard it and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I used to come home from school and then put this on the turntable and then pretend I was playing air guitar and playing the solo on Still Loving You. For like 5 weeks straight, I did that. It's like I'd come home, put this record on, just put on Still Loving You, and pretend to play the guitar solo. Air guitar.
I was too busy looking at the side boob to be playing any air guitar.
Right? You're too busy looking at that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Marty, because this was actually still considered a pretty racy cover in 1984. When this went into some of the other stores, they had to do an alternate cover to get it in places, the bigger chain stores.
That's the inside of the record.
Yep, but for the if you bought, this was a cassette I bought at Walmart, and so like the the Walmarts of the world and such, this was on the front cover. That you couldn't have side boob in Wally World. That was too much back in the day.
Half the women that are walking around Walmart are wearing like this tank top, and you can see all sorts of side cleavage.
I didn't say there wasn't hypocrisy involved.
You don't want to see
what a company says and what a company allows in the front door is different.
What'd you say?
To chromium dioxide?
I was going to, but someone already showed it.
Yep. I'm actually, that'll be the first response video I ever do. I'll be recording that tomorrow.
Oh, fun.
Awesome. Cool. All right.
All right, Marty.
I'm up. All right. I'm going to knock these two out at the same time. Hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes here, but first we're going to go with a legacy guy, and it's Ronnie James Dio, The Last in Line.
I got that too.
This is an 84 classic. I think Holy Diver was my first experience with Dio. I was very excited for this album. It's got We Rock. Last in Line was the big hit, the video.
Last in Line.
Mystery, of course, was a single for this album as well. And of course, the epic ending, Egypt, the chains are wrong. It was Dio. I came upon Dio first before I discovered his Black Sabbath era. And when I discovered the Black Sabbath era and then later the Rainbow era, cemented his legacy in my mind as him being one of the greatest rock singers ever. The Rainbow Rising is one of my all-time favorite albums. Sabbath Mob Rules, one of my all-time favorite albums. And the last of the more mainstream stuff, you can't go without talking about this guy right here. This is a sleazy classic. On the LA Strip, these guys, there is no denying the character in Blackie Lawless's vocals. Even to this day, whether he be putting out stuff I care that much about, he's got a great voice, a lot of dirt in there, yet a lot of emotion in his singing. This shit was really, really excellent for me. I Want to Be Somebody, of course. This whole album is full of bangers, one after the other. There really isn't On Your Knees. Holy shit, what a great song. Tons and tons of good stuff. And this
Love Machine.
Yep, Love Machine. It was Fuck Like a Beast Animal was on here, right?
I think it was a
single.
Single, yeah.
No, that was a single, yeah.
It's not on the album.
School Days, Tormentor.
Torture Never Stops. That's on here too, right?
That's such a good fucking heavy metal record.
It's a great heavy metal record, and they got a lot more commercial after this. The Last Command, I still like that record, but they started to drop a little bit more with the influence that was going on around them on the Sunset Strip. But it wasn't much longer after all that I was turned around. We'll talk about that soon.
Fair.
Ken is next.
Oh, before we jump to Ken, if I'm in, on the little just trivia note for folks out there, some of our viewers like the little trivia facts in there. There's a weird connection with Dio's Last in Line, which was an excellent pick, and this album. Are either of y'all familiar with this by a band called Lester Maddox?
No.
Album's called Gothic Lore. There is a track. It's a very small band. They did 2 albums, not bad stuff. But side 2 starts off with a track called Egypt, The Chains Are Off, as opposed to Egypt, The Chains Are On. It's not a cover, but yeah, an obvious nod to the Dio song on this weird one. It always stuck with me because it's not a bad little album. And back in the Metal Maniacs forum days, there was somebody that remembered this song title, but they couldn't remember the name of the band. And it took us a while for the group to dig around and figure out what the hell he was talking on. Everyone kept swearing, he's like, dude, you're talking about the Dio song. He's like, I am not talking about the damn Dio song. I know the Dio song. He's like, this was a different band that did a song called The Chains Are Off. And I can't remember their name. And eventually the group, hive mind worked it out and figured, oh, it's this thing. So yeah, weird little connection to the Dio album there.
Alan, Rock and Metal Plus is asking if you drew that cover.
No. If I had drawn it, it wouldn't look nearly this good.
I was going to say it looks awfully good.
It's not a bad little album. I've still got it to this day, so it can't be that bad. They made a second album that's also okay, but that one's a lot harder to find for reasons.
No, I've never heard that band.
No, me either.
They're decent. They're not going to reinvent the genre. They're not going to make anyone's top 10 list, but it's a fun listen.
All
right, my turn.
You got it.
All right,
it's all you can.
Keeping in the extreme. Surprise, surprise. Just another. Again, I don't know. At the time, I know how we categorize it today, but at the time, you in 1984, and you were to listen to this album, it again, like Marty pointed out, it's probably thrash. That's probably, but today, I don't know if people would say this was just thrash, but in the Sign of Evil by Sodom, who's not, what kid getting into metal is not going to want to listen to that record?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what person, what guy or gal getting into metal like a 13, 14-year-old Ken Escobedo isn't going to want to check that guy out and what he has to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, but again, just one of these, Blasphemer, Outbreak of Evil.
Great song.
At the time you could, you like Marty said, you lumped this into thrash because you didn't understand what it was, and that was the only label you could give it.
That was
thrash.
thrash. That was thrash to me.
But right at the time. But today, would I say this is a pure thrash metal record?
No.
Today, probably not. But back then, absolutely.
It's got some first wave black metal going on in it too. It's like a weird mix of stuff.
Yeah. Black and thrash. A lot of black thrash bands take influence from this today. A lot of black thrash bands, cite this as being hugely influential. So, Sodom in the Sign of Evil, and going out and, stepping out of the U.S. realm, especially for me, like, Marty showed Dio and we showed Slayer and going to the realms of Germany and finding Sodom and Tommy Angel Ripper. Angel Ripper was his name on this. You didn't even know the guy's name was Tom. You just knew it was Angel Ripper.
Yep.
So,
his first name was Angel. His last name was Ripper.
Right, Angel Ripper, man. There was no Tom back then. No. He didn't go by Tom.
Tomas.
He went by Angel Ripper. Outbreak of Evil. What a fucking song.
Alan.
All right. Let's stay in Germany for a minute because that's one worth pointing out. That Germany had some early success with in heavy metal with Accept and Scorpions, but then the new wave of British heavy metal became all the focus for a while, and Germany, of course, would reestablish themselves as a leading force in heavy metal, but it took a few years for a lot of really strong follow-ups. In '84, for example, Noise Records was just getting up and running, and this was one of their releases. This is their death metal compilation with the original cover, which got them in a lot of trouble in a lot of markets. This had to be reissued with a censored cover to get it distributed in some places. And it's a funny name, and it's a good example of why you got to be careful with how you name things, because the compilation is death metal, but the bands featured on it are not what we would consider death metal by modern standards. Lineup is Running Wild, one of their first vinyl appearances. I think it's their second technically. You've got Halloween making an early vinyl appearance. You've got a band called Dark Avenger, who 15 minutes after this were released were apparently all run over by a high-speed German rail train and never heard from again. And then you also had Hellhammer. And this was one of the few places Hellhammer got a little bit of a vinyl release before the EP, and then quickly changing over to Celtic Frost. But yeah, so if you just thought, this is called death metal, it must be Sodom, Creator, Destruction. No, Hellhammer is the only one of the bands that even would come close to that by today's definitions of the terms. Running Wild and Halloween, very much German traditional power speed metal stuff, and Dark Avenger is much closer to that style than to anything in the Hellhammer camp. Hellhammer's the real anomaly on this compilation. And so, yeah, things were happening in Germany. Bands were getting, up and running, but we were still in sort of, the first EP stages, the first album stages. You were still a year away from Halloween's EP. You have the first Running Wild comes out in 84. The first Gravedigger comes out in 84. So, those bands are just kind of getting their first release starting up, kind of like, in the US scene a bit. But, a lot of attention, it seems, was on the US scene at first. And, the German bands would quickly, catch up and start matching them stride for stride. But yeah, just another cool note on where a particular scene was at as 1984 was happening.
That album has always evaded me, and now every time it turns up, it's so much money I don't want to throw down for, because I've heard most of the stuff on it, but it's like... Yeah,
the tracks are available elsewhere, and but yeah, it's a cool historical relic from the early days of noise and the early days of the German scene starting to, really roar to life again.
Yep, for sure.
All right, Marty, take it away.
All right, my friend Scott bought this tape, played it for me, and I said, my God, that is the most garbage shit I've ever heard. Granted, I just was showing you Dokken and Rad album, so when I heard Fight Fire with Fire, I'm like, this is insane. It's so fast. It's garbage. How can they even do that? It was maybe a week later that this album clicked, and it clicked hard, and it made me I was ripping my Kiss posters down off my wall. I was giving my Rat tapes away to friends. I was it all shifted with this album for me, big time. And the one I'm going to show after this was another humongous shift for me. But this album, I think, was the gateway drug to the heavier stuff for a lot of people during this time. There's no denying it's a classic. I think this is probably my favorite of the first three. Maybe because I heard it first. I think wherever people jump on to a band is kind of where they resonate the most with it. But I don't know. I mean, I love what came before it. I love the album that came after it. But this to me was nonstop spinning, just absorbing every note and scream and drum fill and bass line on this thing. And like, Ken mentioned, back in the day, I'm 13 years old. I'm not making money to go to the store and buy 5-6 albums a trip. But I'd save up my allowance for a month. I'd go maybe buy 2 tapes. That'd be it for the month. And, between myself and my friend Scott, who was the one that was really the spearhead of getting me into a lot of this shit, he had his finger on the pulse of what was going on. I was just a follower at that point. But between the two of us is where I heard a lot of this stuff. And I would just have to, save my money, stop eating lunch at school and saving all that lunch money to, get a ride to the music store, good old Camelot Music, and drop every penny I had on whatever tape was out. But wow, what a breakthrough album for me. This is the one that really opened my mind to the heavier side of what metal would become. And there was no stopping it from here. Like we said, it was on a flaming railroad train going downhill is where metal was going. It was just speed, aggression, evil. It was all coming to a head. And I think Metallica was they were right at the tip. They were at the tip of the spear for sure. So this was a humongous album for me when it comes to, and it's another reason why I've always kind of given Metallica a pass. Has their last few albums been great? No, but I always give them a chance. I like I like the riffs on Death Magnetic. I liked about half of their last album, but do they have staying power? No. Is it going to take me away from spinning that? No, it's not. But my heart has always got an open door policy for a new Metallica album, hoping that someday it's going to happen. But let's face it, they've made more money than they'll ever make doing the things they've done, and they are now seen as a classic rock band. That's the way it is. And it's really strange for me to sit here and say that, because it just makes me realize further that I'm an old fucker. But it's the way things go. They're not really seen as heavy anymore, which is even more bizarre, because at the time I heard that album, it blew the fucking doors off my brain, But here we are. Progress.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was very real similar for me too, Marty, was that I was actually exposed to Metallica probably around 83, 84. But I was exposed to the first album, Kill 'Em All.
Yep.
Didn't resonate with me. Kill 'Em All
Yep.
didn't quite resonate with me. Again, just getting into it, maybe it just, wasn't clicking in a 13-year-old brain just yet. And then probably around 84, 85, I was, Ride the Lightning. So I was introduced to that, and that resonated with me a lot more than Kill 'Em All. But then, then we get into Master of Puppets. And for me, Master of Puppets is and will always be Metallica's epic.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know that's a very unpopular opinion. Everybody says absolutely not, Ride the Lightning. But for me, Master of Puppets, they've never duplicated that record again.
Mm-hmm.
Not before or after.
Yep.
Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets put them on the world stage. Everybody in the world knew who Metallica was after Master of Puppets.
Opening for Ozzy helped that. You know?
Oh yeah.
Put him in front of a lot of people.
Well, Ozzy knew it. Ozzy knows music. Ozzy can't spell his name anymore to, his life. But God love him. I love Ozzy, but he just, at times it doesn't seem like he can tie his own shoe. And then, but then you ask him about music from 1979 when he was in Sabbath or something, and the guy's spitting out all these dates, times, and set lists.
Yeah.
Because where words fail, music speaks.
Yep.
And
right,
it speaks to him. And
I think a lot of the Ozzy thing is there's a John Osborne and there's Ozzy Osbourne. There's two different people, and I think Ozzy. Granted, there's no reason why he should still be alive these days after all the shit he's done, but I think a lot of it, the Ozzy side, is an act. I think there's a lot more going on in Ozzy's head than he's let on over the years, but that could be just me, thinking.
I just thought, like you said, it was because of all the drug use and alcohol and
We'll never really know. I mean, it very much could be, that just all the substance abuse over the years has put him in that state. I kind of agree with Marty. He's always come across as very savvy in knowing how to play that character to maximum effect when he needs to. Which is, I mean, he's created an empire for himself, a legacy that's going to live on long after he does. So, but yeah, he's always known how to really read the music world and make good decisions in that sense. But yeah, Metallica, it is funny how much perceptions have changed on them over time. Marty cannot overstate enough how important those first 3 to 4 Metallica albums were, not just to individual fans, not just to Metallica, to the entire development of heavy metal music. Everything looks different if Metallica had never existed. And Ride the Lightning was a huge statement. I agree with you, Ken. I think Puppets is the opus. But Ride the Lightning really showed what a band could do if they started to really put their nose to the grindstone and take it very seriously. Kill 'Em All, had made an impact for sure. But, it was, still very derivative of what had come before it. It was a faster version of a lot of new wave of British heavy metal. It's a good album. I've always liked Kill 'Em All.
Oh, yeah.
But, if, say, the band had just fell apart and disappeared at that point, would that album be remembered as anything really special? Other than an early example of a U.S. metal band? Maybe not. The, strides they made by the time this came out in terms of tightening up their sound, writing, songs, a little more complexity, more depth.
Fade to Black. I mean, that is a very mature song.
Yeah. There's the word I'm looking for. That they're maturing rapidly here. They still have the angry, youthful, thrashy thing nailed to a T, but at the same, they're not just wallowing in that. They're not just making Kill 'Em All Part 2. They are rapidly maturing on this album, and it's really shows through. While Puppets is the opus, this is probably the one I reach for the most if I want to hear Metallica. I'll usually reach for Lightning beyond this one. I'm pretty sure this was the second Metallica album I heard after the first one I heard was And Justice for All, which never really clicked for me. But this one, this one was always a favorite. I had the Ride the Lightning shirt, and I lived in that shirt in high school. several days a week. They're just that same shirt. People recognized me by that shirt at times. You really cannot understate how important this band and including this album was to the development of heavy metal in the United States. This was the band everybody was already trying to copy and emulate and one up, even in 1984, and it just continued after that. This band pushed other bands to be great. This band pushed, Dave Mustaine and Megadeth to be great. They pushed Exodus to be great. They pushed everybody to go up to this standard if they could.
I think Mustaine even has one writing credit on that album. I think the last of his riffs was used on one of those songs.
Maybe
it's
so.
Funny, Rick says "Ride to No Dave Mustaine."
No, I think there is a Mustaine riff on there. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. It's possible.
Fistful says they turned into Metallica on that album. That's kind of true. I mean, they kind of established the songwriting maturity. They evolved out of youthful piss and vinegar into something a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
Hi, Frederick. All right. Who is next? That would be Ken.
I am.
I just showed Ride the Lightning.
Alan?
Who did Ride the Who showed Ride the Lightning?
I did.
Marty did.
Okay, so then we're back to Ken, yes.
Oh, it is me? Okay. So keeping into a little bit of the extreme, just another, we'll stay in the country of Germany, but just another EP that came out. I had no knowledge of this band, and then I think I did buy this at the time, only because of, again, the way it looked, and the way they looked, I should say, but Sentence of Death. Thrash, definitely more thrash, but obviously a lot of speed in this. A lot of speed, a lot of aggression, a lot of nasty. There you go. Oh, you've got the Euro version. But yeah, just, sheer madness, sheer German speed thrash,
technicality,
speed metal, Mad Butcher, Black Mass. Guys got inverted crosses with bullet belts and leather. Metal, but evil metal. Evil speed metal, and just again another band that just they took the realms of thrash and they're making it faster and more aggressive and just more filthy and more FU and more satanic and more we're going to tease our hair a little bit, but we're also going to wear inverted crosses and black lipstick, and we're going to call ourselves Destruction. Banger, man, just a banger for me, and
total banger.
Another one of those records that again, we know where to put it today, but at the time that probably considered more thrash, I guess. Yeah. That one may not be quite like the Bathory or the Morbid Tales, but still putting it in thrash, you're putting it at the higher, you're putting that more towards the faster thrash bands. You know what I mean? You're I don't know if was speed metal an actual thing in 1984 yet.
Yeah.
Was it a thing yet?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Exciter put out Violence and Force that year, so their early shit was speed metal.
Long Live the Loud.
Long Live the Loud was 85, wasn't it? I don't know for sure. I can access the Oracle here.
This is 84 because
Violence and Force. Okay.
Yep.
But because he had that to show.
I really enjoy Sodom. I don't think Sodom got truly great until they hit Persecution Mania. That's my favorite be all end all Sodom album. But
that's
for me, the early Destruction shit, they were a lot more studied musicians. Mike's riffs were super technical. Infernal Overkill was technical but evil, so well written, such a great fucking thrash record. And Eternal Devastation, their sound got a little more treble heavy, but the riffs got more technical, and even on to Release from Agony. Just bizarre song structures. These guys were working out of a different dimension when it come to writing riffs. I always loved the first 4 Destruction albums. Way better than Sodom up until Persecution Mania. Persecution Mania is a fucking benchmark in fucking German thrash for sure. For me anyway.
Agreed. That's the best Sodom album ever recorded.
Oh yeah, so good. If it didn't have the Motorhead cover on there and they put another original song on there, it would have been better. But I like the Motorhead cover, but it didn't need to be there. You know, it just seems like it breaks up the flow of a really great evil record. You know,
Persecution is fucking awesome. Take nothing away from Agent Orange.
No. I mean, I like Agent Orange too, but that started to get more fun elements. There was like some fun type stuff. Some Tank influence was coming in to that. I don't know whether that was on purpose or not. I have no idea, but
yeah, they didn't have the same. Persecution Mania still has that, kind of, raw, evil, we'll cut your throat and rape your mother kind of vibe to it a little bit. So Agent Orange doesn't have that.
The Christ Passion off of Persecution Mania. What a great fucking song. Holy shit. It's evil as fuck. Great. All right. Alan's next.
All right. Well, the discussion set this up perfect. So yeah, we'll go with this. Canada was fully on board with heavy metal by 1984. Violence and Force. Not the greatest heavy metal cover in history. I wonder if this is the same pair of hands from Hellstar's, later albums.
Distant Thunder or whatever.
That'd be heavy metal hand model, maybe. I'm not sure. But this is just, Early Exciter's hard to beat. It's fast, it's catchy, it's heavy. They really just, hit the sweet spot, of all those elements that you wanted to have mixed together. But this one's my favorite of the earlier ones. The track list is, just insane. If I can get it pulled out of the cover there. You've got Saxons of the Fire is great. You've got, of course, it's written in some stupid font I can't read. Thanks for you. You have Violence and Force, Scream in the Night, Destructor, Swords of Darkness. It just goes on and on. You really can't go wrong with Early Exciter period, but yeah, this is the album for me. And again, it just shows that, bands in other places too, like Canada they're really pushing that speed envelope. They're pushing that heavy envelope. They want to be as loud, wild, and crazy as any band on the planet. And they're going for it. And they're just nailing it on this album. Love me some Violence and Force.
How many bands from that era had the drummer singing? And they were a power trio.
Right.
That's very unique.
Was. Yeah, I mean, it's Heavy Metal Maniac. Just a
great album.
What a record that is. That might be in my top 10, top 15 of all time, is Heavy Metal Maniac.
That one's great, absolutely, too.
Exciter is the second greatest metal band to come out of Canada ever. So,
all right, I'm up next. I heard this album maybe the same week as I heard Ride the Lightning, maybe a week or two later. And again, I said, this is garbage. What the hell is up with those vocals? What is going on here? What is going on here?
There you go.
Tell you right here is that after I opened my mouth and said, this sucks, this is horrible, this is crazy, I listened to it and it clicked with me so hard. I have never heard a better guitar duo ever. I've never heard a better guitar. I mean, there's Murray and Smith. There's, Hetfield and Hammett. There's Mustaine and Friedman.
What, Denner
and fucking Sherman. They are, the way they wrote riffs, they wrote two different guitar parts to come up with these riffs that just sounded like demons laughing. I don't know, but I heard this album, and when it finally clicked with me, I did not grow up in a Christian household. I did not grow up religious. But after I heard this album, I was sure the devil was real. I was positive. I was drawing upside down crosses on my Trapper Keeper. I was thinking that I was some sort of an evil dude. This album set me on a path with what I considered true evil. This made me think that Venom were fucking posers. Woo! Don't get me wrong, I love Venom, but there was such a tongue-in-cheek shit going on with Kronos' lyrics. But this shit, it was right out of what I was seeing on TV, the Satanic Panic, news reports that were on television. I don't know if you've got him over in your area of the Midwest, but Jack Van Impe, do you remember him, Ken? Him and his wife Rexella had a weekly show. They were a Christian, evangelical Christians that they had here up in northern Michigan. They're based out of Michigan. They had a weekly show. They were talking about heavy metal being the devil, and they mentioned Mercyful Fate, they mentioned Venom. They came to my school back in the day.
Oh, jeez.
To talk about satanic music and metal and all this other stuff. So this really resonated with me as something that I was connecting with on television. Things that were scaring me on television, things I was watching on horror movies. You know, the 80s was really starting to dip into that satanic panic fucking thing. And, you know, the movies were getting more scary. And this album is amazing. Even to this day, I've listened to this thing probably 5 million times. Does not sound old, does not sound tired. It sounds just as haunting and atmospheric and terrifying as the first day I heard it. There isn't a bad song on the album. There isn't. I mean, every single song is great. I love what went on. I love what King did on Fatal Portrait 2, which would have been the third Mercyful Fate album. I think the vibe carried over onto that album. To me, that's the best King Diamond record. I know that's a hot take, but I like it because it reminds me of Mercyful Fate. Stylistically, sonically, the riffs were the same. The production, once King Diamond moved his production facility to Texas, King Diamond and Mercyful Fate albums that came after lost that atmosphere. There was something. Who did this? Who produced this? Recorded and mixed at Easy Sound Recording, Copenhagen, by Henrik Lund. Engineered by Henrik Lund. And I don't know, but there was like some weird evil shit going on in the studio as far as I'm concerned. Total atmosphere. And the great thing about this is, kids, is this was recorded on 2-inch tape. Listening to this original pressing on a record player with good speakers, you can hear the room. There, you don't hear any digital processing. You hear true analog space. You can hear the room the amps are recorded in. You can hear the fucking, it might as well be a satanic temple. I don't know. But it all kind of comes through this. One of the best albums ever made. Hands down. 1984. Amazing.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with all those sentiments and comments. Mercyful Fate. Well, yeah, you know, King, you know, and King did great stuff, you know, in his solo project. I mean, you know,
yeah,
them and, you know,
Abigail. I mean,
Percy, Abigail.
All of
them for me. Them is the King Diamond, right? For me, is them.
Oh, the first three are amazing. First four are great. I mean, there's so many good albums, you know.
But I agree. Mercyful Fate had definitely more of a evil sound for sure, a more evil, and plus it was more rooted, I think, in more of a, you know, rock and roll, hard rock had a little more of that root, you know, especially coming off Melissa, had more of a hard rock, but again, a very evil hard rock sound, you know. So, yeah, for sure.
Best cover art on a heavy metal album, possibly ever.
Yep.
It's Mercyful Fate.
First book cover. The only thing I'd say different, Marty, this one, it took less than 5 seconds for this album to click with me. Put it on for the first time, dropped the needle, heard that first, you know, just opening guitar lick on A Dangerous Meeting. And I remember just the hairs on my arms and neck just standing up.
Oh, yeah.
And just thinking to myself, oh, shit, this is going to be good. And it was.
Yep.
Do you think it was, you know, because the music says they should have been bigger? Was it maybe because of that King Diamond satanic imagery that he portrayed? And, I think lived.
I think King Diamond's vocals has been the make or break for that band. People either love his vocals or they hate his vocals. And the people that hate his vocals really fucking hate his vocals.
Yeah, there are people that don't get it.
It polarizes a lot of metal fans, you know?
Yeah. This was on the official story too, is that, you know, when they came back, you know, to start work on the third album, that, and I always forget which guitarist, whether it was Sherman or Denner.
It was Sherman. He wanted to do more. He did Fate. He wanted to do more hair metal types.
Yeah, that, you know, the ideas he was bringing in were very almost glammy. You know, very. He really wanted to go in the Hairspray direction and make something that was going to be a lot more accessible.
I mean, he was going for, like, you know, the athletic workout wear, weird bandanas around his fucking elbow, and because then, you know, sure, I followed King, you know, to King Diamond, and then the other guy did the Fate album, and that's a very, very different sounding album from anything Mercyful did. So between King's voice and just a split in musical direction, the band they didn't last as long as they should have, and
maybe that was, maybe that's something that made them more legendary. They made these 2 fantastic albums, and then they were gone. They didn't stick around long enough to, crank out a Black Album and a Load and a Reload and all this kind of stuff that, other bands did.
It's amazing to me. You listen to this, it's like all the members in the band brought something to it that made it what it was. Mm-hmm. If you listen to like what King was doing on that Black Rose CD, they're doing Golden Earring covers. They're sounding the originals that they had sound like Deep Purple. I mean, they were very much hard rock influenced and doing stuff like that. And it's just weird how the stars aligned where everybody got together and were, Denner and Sherman together made that fucking sound together with their guitars.
Yeah.
And then even when they got back, it was like the 25th anniversary of Melissa, and that him and Denner got together in a room, were like playing the songs together. It just watching the riff structures and how those riffs like lock together. And it's like those two playing in a room together. It's just like, we know this, this is like this weird connection. It was really kind of emotional to watch, I thought anyway, because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that old Mercyful Fate shit. And they're, like I said, my favorite guitar duo. No, hands down the best. They're so overlooked. It's kind of a drag, but
the rhythm section should not go overlooked. Kim Rose's drumming is just, crazy good throughout Mercyful Fate's catalog. Everything just, they had all the pieces. And
Timmy Hansen was a beast on the bass, and he would throw in these nice little runs and fills in there that really cut through that wall of evil to really make sell that melodic side. It was really cool. We're a great band.
Quick story about that. 2012, when I went with Cyanide to Killtown Death Fest, my good buddies in Cyanide, played in Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark. The drummer and I, Andy, went to Michael Denner's record store.
Nice.
Cool. And he was there when we went in. Nice. He was there. And we walk in, I'm like, and you're Michael Denner. And he was on his cell phone, talking on his cell. He kind of waved to us, and then we're the only ones in the store. There's nobody else in the store, just me and Andy. He's talking on the phone, So after about 10, 15 minutes, me and Andy just start flipping through records and whatnot. He gets off the phone. Hey, sorry, guys, how are you? Hey, huge fan, man. We shake his hand. Oh, thanks, And then Andy says, he goes, where are you guys from? We're like, well, we're from the States. Andy says, I'm here with my band Cyanide. He goes, I've heard of you guys. He's like, you guys are playing that show here. And Andy's like, mind blown, he just died right there. He's like, are you've heard of fucking Cyanide?
Did you have to drag him out of the store?
Yeah, he like almost fainted. And then I'm just like, man, you're a fucking god. And then he's like, I was just on the phone with Hank Sherman. That's who I was on the phone with. And we're talking about doing a project together. Me and Andy are like, what? Like, what? Seriously? So we walk into Michael Denner's store. He's on the phone with Hank Sherman on his cell phone. And then he knows Cyanide. So, of course, I buy $200 worth of dumb heavy metal records I didn't need from him. And he, almost kissed my hand because I spent $200 in his store. But got some good stuff with some good vinyl. And yeah, and then he took a picture of me and Andy. So, yeah.
That's fucking cool, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. What it did, we had a great trip, but that was that was kind of like icing on the cake that we got to meet fucking Michael Denner in his own record.
Do you have a lot of Mercyful Fate rarities, or not really too much?
He did not, actually. You know what he did have, though? So I had an original copy of, I don't know if you guys know the band Wasted, Halloween the Night Of.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I had an original copy. I gave it to my buddy Scott in Cyanide years ago. Well, he had the repress. And I had the record in my hand. He goes, were you going to buy that? And I said, yeah. He goes, go ahead and put that one back. I'll get you one. I got a whole set of he must have had 100 of them in a stack. He's 100 of these represses of the Wasted Halloween the Night. He's like, I'll get you a cleaner copy. You can put that one back. He got me a cleaner copy or what's. Yeah, but no, just dude was freaking awesome, and he was, he's a metalhead. You guys, you could just tell. He's just like, I've heard of Cyanide. You guys are playing that Killtown thing with all those death metal bands, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. I'm not really into the heavy stuff like that. He's like, well, yeah, that's cool, man. It's fucking awesome, And he's just being like a total dude, total metal dude in his record store. I'm like, but you're Michael Denner.
Well, I'm sure he gets a lot of people flocking to his store because he's Michael Denner. Metalheads know, They're sure.
He was just so cool.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, man. I would have probably peed my pants I'd have pissed my panties if I stood there and he was standing there talking to me. Dribble,
Yeah, I
dribble.
almost did. I was just kind of at that point. I didn't know what to do. We were still in the drunken stupor from the night before, so I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. So I'm just like, I just remember he got the phone. I'm like, "And you're Michael Denner?" And he's like, "Yeah, sir." And I was like, "Yeah." And then he's like, when he said he knew something, then he's like, "Well, I was just on the phone with Hank. That's why I was on the phone." Get out of here. Like, can I just buy these records? And then, yeah, me and Andy didn't know. Andy bought I yelled at Andy. I'm like, "That's all you bought?" He bought like a used DOC. Like, that's it? That's all you bought? I'm like, come on. And he's like, "I don't know what to do." He's like, I didn't even look at anything. He's like, let's just go. A couple of grown men acting like a couple of schoolgirls, so we just left. But, thanks for taking the picture. Anyways, sorry.
You're up.
Okay. So nobody has shown this record yet. So I'm going to go ahead and show it just because we've mentioned it. And, my favorite band of all time, 1984 is Power Slave.
I knew you were going
You
there.
guys were
I
gonna
was
show
holding
it.
off.
Yeah.
I was not going to show it. No way I was going to pick that over you.
My favorite Iron Maiden record of all time. This is my favorite.
That's fair.
Second, I do like Number of the Beast and, Peace of Mind. I love Somewhere in Time. This one takes the cake for me. I mean, I think it's just because that I was exposed to Maiden earlier, though. I was exposed to Maiden with Diano. It didn't quite resonate with me. But when Bruce was singing on this, I heard Bruce.
Yep.
And Bruce resonated with me. And probably my second favorite vocalist of all time is Bruce Dickinson. I think, honestly, I feel if it wasn't for him joining Iron Maiden, I don't know if Iron Maiden would be today where they are if it wasn't for Bruce joining.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did Paul Diano have the staying power as a vocalist as Bruce Dickinson?
No.
I don't think so.
That's an interesting what if scenario for sure.
Yeah, I think Bruce, and don't get me wrong, Steve Harris writes the music.
Yeah.
Steve Harris is the man. He writes this stuff. I get it, but somebody's got to sing it right.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce sang it right. And this is the epitome. But although these guys were from the UK and breaking, I'm thinking breaking out of that new wave of British heavy metal style with more of a heavy metal go. Maybe they sensed, like Alan said, how US bands were breaking the mold of new wave of British heavy metal, bringing the US to the forefront of the metal scene. I think Maiden may have taken a couple of paragraphs out of that page and said, you know what, we're going to change it up a little here. We're going to create something called Power Slave. And the epitome of what a heavy metal record should be is Power Slave. And no ifs, ands, or buts. My favorite of all time, the Iron Maiden record is Power Slave, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, The Duelist, 2 Minutes to Midnight. What else is there?
Aces High.
Aces High. Just
fucking. I know a lot of people like Back in the Village.
Back in the Village. Swinging the Blade. What is Swing? Not Swinging the Blade. Something.
Flash of the Blade. I'm going to say
Flash of the Blade.
Flash of the Blade is the best
Bruce words.
Yep. Flash of the Blade is the best Bruce Dickinson song ever. Sorry. I love that song so fucking much. And it's such a deep cut on this. So good.
I think my favorite song is 2 Minutes to Midnight. I got to be honest. 2 Minutes to Midnight is probably my favorite song on the record. But god damn. I mean.
It's stacked. It's loaded.
Just, if you don't like Maiden, guys, if people watch it, I don't know how many people are, but if you don't like Iron Maiden,
there's 73 on right now. Hey, everybody.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You're not listening to the right Maiden then, because how can you not like Iron Maiden if you're?
That's true. If you're a metalhead and you don't like Iron Maiden, there's something wrong.
Yeah, I don't get that. It's kind of like I'll say the same thing about Metallica. If you like metal, you gotta like something by Metallica. Maybe not every single album. Maybe you don't love every album, but It's Metallica for crying out loud. It's Iron freaking Maiden for crying out loud. Now I'm a little biased. They do no wrong here in the house of Ken. You know, they kind of like Halloween for Marty. Halloween could record themselves pooping on a record, and Marty's going to say it's the greatest thing that ever got recorded.
But, what is Halloween? They're the German Iron Maiden. Let's be honest.
And just to be clear out there, folks, Halloween didn't release anything in 1984, so you're safe. You've got a pass tonight.
Or I'd be showing that motherfucker. But I will say this is an amazing album, and my favorite Maiden is Killers, because that's where I started with Maiden.
Sure.
But did Di'Anno have the vocal prowess and the endurance to go on to do what Bruce did? Hell no. I think Di'Anno was probably more in league with a Blaze Bayley type of singer. They picked Blaze Bayley because he was a friend, and he could not do 2.5 hours. It wrecked his voice. He's a good singer, but he is not an Iron Maiden singer. Bruce Dickinson was the model for what Iron Maiden became. And, like Number of the Beast, that was their big breakthrough album. And it's got some crap songs on it. I'm not going to lie. I like a lot of it. But it's got some garbage on it. Peace of Mind, much better album. I even like the deep cuts on it. But it's like this album here, it all came together. The songwriting fell together. Aces High, what a barn burner of a fucking start-off track. What a barn burner. 2 Minutes to Midnight, following up that barn burner with an epic, mid-paced tale of a song. Lost for Words instrumental, Flash of the Blade, my favorite. That's my favorite song on this album. It is such a great song. They never played it. The Duelist is great. I think Back in the Village is kind of a throwaway track. But the rest of it, Power Slave, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, they end on fucking typical Iron Maiden epics. This is a great fucking album. There's no denying. I knew you were going to show it, Ken. For sure.
Get it if you don't have it.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't pull it because I was not about to put that on camera before Ken, and that was the entire reason I picked that image for the thumbnail for tonight's video. Is I wanted couldn't think of a better one to fit having Ken on to discuss this year with that album in the mix.
And I do want to throw back into this. I talked about it in my Iron Maiden review of Senjutsu. What does this album have that Senjutsu does not have? It's got Martin Birch. Produced by Martin Birch. He would go in and make this band. He would make Bruce sing 1 million times until he got the take he wanted. Kevin Shirley is very much a yes man, which I think at this point in Maiden's career, they want that. They want someone to come in and say, oh, we're going to play live and do whatever. We're going to use every riff and we're just going to mumble through this. Okay, great, Iron Maiden. I'll record it. And it's just, I listen to Maiden records now. The new Senjutsu is 85 minutes of the same fucking song over and over and over. It's boring. And it's just, there isn't a producer there pushing them like, no, that riff is a riff you played on the last album. That harmony is the same harmony you used two albums ago. That they don't have someone pushing them, and granted they're old guys. They probably don't want to be pushed anymore. They proved their point,
right?
And people like the new Senjutsu. I feel bad for saying anything bad about it. It's just it's boring. It's so boring, and it bums me out. I'm glad they're still doing it, but it's just not. It's not Power Slave. It's not Somewhere in Time, which is another great fucking album. Holy shit, what a great album! Anyway,
they made one bad song on Somewhere in Time.
Yeah, Heaven Can Wait. Bad chorus.
That's what everybody says, but I like that song.
I like the song. I don't like the chorus. If it was a different chorus, the song is good. But what's the one bad song that you think on that one?
That's what I'm saying. That record does not have a bad song on it.
That's the only song I would consider bad, but it's really not that bad.
It's not that bad, yeah.
No, it's just a bad chorus.
It's a good record. Somewhere in Time is obviously a little more proggy, I guess you could say, with their musical venture in Somewhere in Time. But the leads on Wasted Years, Somewhere in Time, the Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
What a great song!
And the heaviest song. What's the heaviest song? That Sea of Madness.
Oh yeah,
that bass line. That's probably one of the heaviest riffs that Iron Maiden ever wrote. That they ever wrote was that Sea of Madness with that bass line. It's probably one of the heaviest songs I ever wrote. But yeah, that's a good fucking record.
Rock and Metal Plus asks, so were Wolfsbane big in America? No, they were not.
I have a couple of Wolfsbane records, but no, they were not big in America.
They were not big, for sure. Okay.
Blaze Bailey's original band, right?
Yep.
Is that why you asked that?
Yep.
You were okay with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good singer. He just wasn't a good Maiden singer.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I think something just to wrap up with Iron Maiden, I think a good follow-up to y'all's observation that, would Diano have been able to have done the same things for Maiden? I think you see Diano's limitations after he left Iron Maiden. I mean, he was in a lot of projects from Gog Magog to Paul Dano's Battlezone, and none of those projects ever really got any traction. And
yeah, Battlezone had, I mean, those two albums were decent.
Mm-hmm. They did. He has a little later. It was in a band called Killers, and there were always some decent tunes here and there, but they never broke. Paul Dano never broke through again with any of those other things. And you listen to him sing on those albums compared to Bruce singing on the Iron Maiden albums, and there's no contest. They had the front man to make them an arena band for the ages in Bruce, and they probably didn't have that in Paul as much. And I love those first two Iron Maiden albums. They're two of my favorites, both of them, the self-titled and Killers.
You like chocolate and you like peanut butter, but maybe you don't like them together. And that's what it was kind of like that for. It was kind of like that for Iron Maiden with Bruce, because Bruce sang in Samson.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mediocre record at best.
Headhunter, was that the name of the album? That was a great album.
Head Tactics, or what was it? Head On and something Tactic. Head On and
Shock Tactics.
Head on. That's the one. Great album. I used to have that CD. I can't find it. I don't know what happened.
It was just okay for me. And if you play it now, it's even like you can't even tell it's Bruce Dickinson almost. It's like
there's a lot of homoerotic lyrics on that album too. It's really strange.
It has some weird tendencies.
Yep.
Yeah, Bruce, had sung in a band called Bruce had sung in a band called Speed, before Samson that did a 7-inch, and it's kind of pedestrian. It's obviously a big rarity because it's got him singing on it, but musically it's really sort of a low tier new wave of British heavy metal stuff. If it didn't have Bruce Dickinson on it, nobody would care about that Speed single. It would be an afterthought.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, you just put the right ingredients together. Bruce, his vocals with Maiden's music, and that was it. With Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson, which I guess they apparently early in their careers. I don't know if this is still the case, but they would literally want to choke each other in the studio. They would have to be separated apparently while they were recording.
Steve wrote the superior songs. I mean, Bruce would bring songs like "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter" to the table, which they released as a single, and that song is fucking garbage. That's a hot garbage song. Terrible, shitty song. Hot garbage. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go.
Steve Harris is the man. I mean,
Steve Harris is the man. Bruce's songs aren't as good. They're just not.
Steve's the man. He's
Anyway, who's next? That was Ken, and it is Alan's turn. And talk a lot because I have to go pee. I'll be right back.
If I ran out of things to say, the turkey can take over.
Oh, it moves too. I didn't realize it moved.
It sings and dances. This hat does everything you could ever want a hat to do.
Oh, wow. Where did you get that thing?
It's a Walmart. Where else? I got it years ago. We were walking through Walmart, just picking up a few odds and ends. We were going to the checkout line, and my wife said, she just turned me, she's like, "Can you believe that horrible singing turkey hat they had back there on display?" And I hadn't seen it. I just looked at her, just like, so I just turned and looked at her, just like, they had a singing turkey hat on display. And my wife literally put her hand in her face, and I heard her mutter, "Oh God, why did I tell him about it?" Because I turned around, I did a U-turn right there, out of the checkout lane, went back and found it, just like, "Oh, you're coming home with Daddy." And we use it every year, much to her shame.
Very cool.
Got to have a little fun during the holidays for sure. But yes, let me get back on track here, and we'll discuss another album while Marty can jump back in. 1904. We've already covered enough top-notch, heavy metal albums, to fill 2 or 3 years in. We still got a bunch that no one's mentioned yet, including Queensryche's The Warning. This band, they had the EP come out the previous year in '83, but this album is already, a light year ahead of the EP. The EP is great. I love it. It's very Maiden and Priest influenced stuff, but it's got Jeff Tate, with an amazing voice. But the songwriting here, they're leaving behind all that kind of fantasy stuff and going in a much different directions, almost sci-fi overtones, which is unusual for heavy metal at that point. Really interesting production on it. Every song kind of has its own identity. They're well written. The playing is great. Tate's vocals, especially through this era, are just incomparable. He's the only singer I can think of off the top of my head that could rival, Michael Kiske in his prime. And this is just, their first full-length album. This is, they obviously, go on to, mega stardom, a few albums later. And this album's already better than what, 80, 90% of bands would ever make in their career in the 1980s. They're already just absolutely putting together a gem of an album. And they haven't even really found their footing as a band yet. It's not my favorite Queensryche album. For that, I'd have to go with Rage for Order. But this one is...
It's a great album.
This one is a fantastic album in its own right. It's different. Queensryche, they changed, very rapidly over those early albums. And you just can't go wrong. And The Warning's just another one of these just hallmark albums from 1984. This year is so loaded. It's just insane. The stuff that
what I like about that record is that it's just still got a piece of that power metal vibe to it too.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. It sure
got
does.
A little bit of that power metal in there,
That's a great observation, Ken. It sure does.
Especially from the, taking from that first EP, that's still got a piece of that, the little piece that they're going off into something different, obviously, but it's still a little bit of that power metal in there. I liked. I think that's what I like most about that record. But Jeff Tate, man, he's a world-class singer.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The guy is he's still got it today.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. He still sounds great.
I mean, he does, we all get older, nobody's getting any younger. But, so maybe he's not where he wants to be physically or whatever. So I'm being told this by others that said, oh, he's wishing he could do this or that.
Well, he's wishing he was still in Queensryche, I think.
Probably.
Queensryche is wishing he was still in Queensryche, I think.
No, I don't know. That new guy is good. He's good.
He's still got. But
in terms of exposure.
Somebody told me to get the new Queensryche. I haven't got. I'm not going to
get
it.
Good, Ken. Is it mind blowing? No, but the guy sounds like Jeff Tate, and he brings a little bit of other things too.
But see, so he sounds like Jeff Tate.
Yep. I know.
Why would you want to do that?
I get the impression that Jeff Tate wasn't easy to be with or around. I get the fact that he was maybe not playing with a full deck of cards, which make, you start touring with a band as much as they were touring. I mean, songs like Silent Lucidity and Jet City Woman hit, they're a big fucking band. They're big. They're huge. They're all over MTV. They're touring the world. They're in buses together, and you have to deal with a personality that's maybe a bit crazy. I mean, they fired him. So that, I mean, it's hard to cut someone that has that great of a voice loose.
That's true.
Halloween did it with Kiska. I mean, that guy's got the golden voice of angels, and I don't know if he left or if he got booted. They'll probably each camp will tell you different, but how do you cut your main singer that's so great, that's the defining point of your sound, let them go? That's a very risky, often destructive move.
That's got to be a huge discussion between the band members to say, we're going to take the face of this band away.
Yeah.
He was the face of that band.
Yeah, and I mean that did happen, much later in the career when the music scene and even Queensryche themselves were almost a different entity. But yeah, it was still a big step for sure.
And for the record, I did like Empire.
I did too.
Empire has some very good songs. I don't like the album overall, but the good songs are very good.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. It's good stuff. Operation Mindcrime, great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. All right. I'm next, right?
You are next, sir.
Can't believe this one has slid under the radar, but we got to go with Omen, Battle Cry, 1984.
Oh, you picked it before Ken, you bastard. He's never going to come back on the show now. You have insulted his honor, sir. Ken, on behalf of my co-host, I apologize for this snafu.
Alan, you want me to take you seriously with that hat on?
We can all talk about it afterwards, but I got to say, Omen, the first 3 Omen records are all fantastic. They're mind-blowingly fantastic. And why are they so good? Well, yeah, Kenny Powell, great songwriter. There's a little bit of a Maiden-esque flow going through some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But the best thing about Omen is this guy right here, J.D. Kimball.
Yeah.
There is none other greater than this guy's vocals as far as this style of traditional heavy metal. He had a very bluesy croon to him.
Yep.
Very soulful tone. He didn't do the high soaring stuff, but he was just always in the pocket in that really bluesy mid-range tone. And you could feel every word this guy was singing. The Axeman, holy fuck. Death Rider. What a great song. Dragon's Breath. Be My Wench. I mean, this album is full of hits. First 3 albums are absolutely classics. And I got to thank the Best of Metal Blade Volume 1 for turning me on to this amazing band. Timeless. I still play Omen quite often. I love J.D. Kimball's vocals. Rest in peace. Cheers. Cancer sucks.
If there's a band watching or going to watch this stream and you're a heavy metal band and you want to be a power metal band or you like power metal, listen to Omen Battle Cry and do everything that record did.
Yep.
And then you'll be a good power metal band.
You'll be on the good.
That is the epitome of, in my opinion, of power freaking metal.
Well, it's U.S. power metal. U.S. power metal and European power metal are 2 different things.
And that's another stream.
Yeah, that's another stream. Me and Alan already did it.
Oh, did you?
Did it a long time ago. Yep.
It is the epitome of what good galloping medieval leather and chains power metal should be. Is Omen's Battle Cry. That again, one of those that could be in my top 15 of all time favorite record.
Rock and Metal Plus. Why do I not know Omen? I don't know, but you need Battle Cry, the second album, Warning of Danger, and the third album, The Curse, are all.
Oh, he's saying he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Chef's kiss, man. Fucking great stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. Kenny Powell getting kicked out or separating from Savage Grace. You ended up with 2 amazing U.S. power metal bands as a result of that. If he stuck with Savage Grace, Omen never exists. Weird.
I think I had Savage Grace pulled out here.
I will not pick that before you can because I am a good host.
For my next pick, I'm going to go in because, like Alan had brought up when you went to the gentleman's room there, Marty, that we're still talking about bigger bands right now. Maybe that's what you want to say. So I'm gonna start going to a little more of the lesser known.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm going to kind of abandon my stack of Venoms and bands that people know about and get into a little more of the obscure, what I'll call obscure stuff from 1984, but it's not my turn, so I'm just going to flip through.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh, is it my turn? Okay.
I just did Omen. Yep.
Then God damn it, Ken, that's like the perfect entry. So I'll play off the Metallica record, and this was Metallica's bassist on their first 3 albums, Mr. Cliff Burton. This was his first band that released a record in 1984. Now, obviously, Cliff didn't play on this. No. He played on the demo that was recorded the year before, 1983, but Trauma.
They just played in a little podunk town called Kalkaska next to Traverse City. They played there a year ago, before the pandemic.
Really?
At the Fireball Lounge in Kalkaska. Nobody was there.
Oh, I would have went.
Yeah. I didn't go.
If they played anything from this record, I would have went. But just Heavy metal, man. I mean, do you like your heavy metal E? I mean, it's no frills. It's not going to make probably anybody's top 10 for sure, but it's a good solid heavy metal record. It's got pretty much anything you'd want out of a California-based heavy metal band at the time in 1984. It's fairly catchy. It's fairly evil at times sounding. Again, nothing that's going to be over the top, nothing that's going to make you want it every day. It's not going to be, it's not going to probably be your regular cup of Joe in the morning, but it's still a pretty good record. And, I'm just going to tie it in that it's good enough to be mentioned as a more obscure band from 1984 that doesn't get talked about. But the tie-in is, Cliff Burton was the bass player. This is one of his band before Metallica. He was actually playing in this band when he auditioned and joined Metallica. He was actually playing and did record on their demo the year previous to recording this.
Yep.
So you guys want to get a little deeper into stuff, go check out Trauma, man. Good record.
Yeah, great call, Ken. Yeah, Trauma was on Metal Massacre 4 in 1983 with one of the songs with Cliff.
There you go.
Yep.
Another perfect tie-in by Professor Allen.
That's why I'm here.
Professor Steele.
Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers.
Okay, Alan, people are clamoring for you to talk about Jag Panzer, so now is your time. Now is your time to shine.
Okay.
Destruction is a great album.
Folks have been and Ken's segueing into some more obscure stuff, so that's a good time. I want to do two, one quick and one less quick. Then, since we're hitting some of the more obscure ones, I don't have a ton to say about this, but some folks that are watching, I know this is a sentimental favorite for some folks. Sacred Right. First album came out in '84. This was a Hawaiian band, which not a scene. Usually, if you think Hawaii, you're of course thinking Marty Friedman projects, but there were other bands from Hawaii. And Sacred Right did some very cool albums. This one is the perfect example of an album I'll play, really like it, put it on the shelf and kind of forget about it for a year or two. And then I take it back and I'm just like, man, that's really good. Why don't I play that more often? Really good sounding band. They really were very tight, very good songwriters, excellent. A great example of where heavy metal in the US was at in '84. A lot of people will know this album with just like a plain white cover with the band's logo done a little bit different. It got pressed several different times early on. This is one of the, I don't think this is the first pressing. I get them mixed up a little bit. It's a little hard to keep them straight. But yeah, this is one of the earlier pressings before that white cover became really prominent. So yeah, Sacred Right.
All the colored pencils.
They went to town with that box of Crayolas right there. They sure did. Everything you can cram on that cover is on there somewhere. So, like Ken said, this is not an album that you're going to ever have on necessarily like best album ever list, but it is a very good listen. If you're ever, and they did some more albums too. This was not a one and done kind of thing. They did relocate to the mainland eventually and put out some additional albums. So yeah, if it's one that you see. Don't let the watercolors there throw you off. It is a very solid one. But yeah, if folks want this one, then let's do this one. Colorado, again, not where you think of as the most biggest hotbed for heavy metal in the 80s, but they had Jag Panzer, and Jag Panzer made ample destruction, and this is probably a top 10 album of all time for me. It just perfectly hits that same US power metal vibe that we were discussing a few minutes ago with Omen and bands like that. It's got incredibly strong vocals with Harry Conklin. It's got Joey Tafola, guitar whiz kid. It's got the iconic cover art, just killer track list. They made 12 different versions of it back in the day. I may or may not own about 10 of them. You can't prove that. It's all speculation you heard on the internet. Don't listen to the internet, kids. But yeah, this album, just start to finish, is amazingly strong. Love it to death. Not a bad track on it.
That's a great record. I love that record.
I love that one to death. I almost bought another copy of it last week, but it was way too expensive.
You probably got a CD copy of it under that hat right now, don't you?
I might have 5 or 6 copies.
Marty, did you know the hat dances too? I didn't realize it danced. I didn't see it dance.
The hat twerks. It twerks.
It does it all.
No, it's
if I know what,
There it goes. I didn't realize that.
Turkey got back.
does everything you could want it to do and more.
I don't know how to know what the more is. I just don't. All right.
We'll save that for the after hours extended.
The OnlyFans, the heavy metallurgy OnlyFans.
Heavy turkey OnlyFans. Heavy drumsticks.
Well, people are talking about it, so I'm going to jump out of line here. And Voivod, War and Pain. I actually heard this is the first Voivod album I ever heard, and since I'm a big Venom fan, it's not too far removed from what Venom was doing. These guys are very much a Venom influence. There's a lot of punk on this. There's a lot of weird. They're from Canada, from some weird nuclear plant town up in Canada. What can you say about this band? They were completely unique. I love Blackie's blower bass sound. Always, whenever I have to record something with bass, I hear that bass tone in my head. I just can't get it out. Even though sometimes a clean bass is what's best, I still want the blower bass tone. But this is a very influential album. Voivod changed very dramatically from this album onto their second album, Roar. Roar is more driving, more sci-fi tinged before they landed on Killing Technology, which is where I think they really found their true sound.
Yep.
But their beginnings are very much rooted in Mercyful Fate and Venom Worship. You listen to their early demos, they do a lot of Mercyful Fate and Venom covers on the demos. So you can kind of tell, from a cover band to what they became. He's got the classic Voivod, Warriors of Ice, Suck Your Bone, Black City, Nuclear War, Blower. I think Blower is the song that was on the Best of Metal Blade Volume 1. I can't remember, to be completely honest. But my favorite Voivod, Dimension Hatros. Hands down, favorite. But all this stuff, awesome, perfect, weird, great band.
I saw them live 2010 at the Maryland Death Fest.
Yep.
They absolutely blew the roof off the place.
Yep.
Their set list was so well planned out, where they played 1-2 songs from almost every album. And just and for a bunch of guys, they're older than me, I think, right?
Yeah.
And just going up there, and this is 2010, so 10, 12 years ago, whatever it is, and the energy these guys had, and the whole energy, and the singer just gets up and he's getting the entire crowd into it. I mean, he's jumping around, just getting and they literally, I guess they flew in, did the show, and then flew out. They literally went to the airport right after the set and flew out, and they just blew the roof off the place. I was so impressed how good those guys perform live. I had never seen Voivod, and it was amazing to see those guys especially at that point in time in their career, and then to see them with that much energy and have that much of an effect on a crowd was insane. Just a world-class act.
The only time I've seen them was on the Nothing Face tour with Soundgarden and Faith No More. Very strange bill. I've talked about that a million times. But
that is strange. That's a strange crowd.
And most of the crowd left after Soundgarden played. Of course, Soundgarden blew everybody off the stage. Voivod was just the odd man out on that bill. They were still great. I was there to see them, but was pretty blown away by Soundgarden's set. They were pretty amazingly energetic, for sure.
Well, they're fucking great.
Anyway, Ken.
Oh, it's me again. Okay. All right. So seeing on the obscure a little bit, why don't we go with? Oh hell, I don't know. I'm just gonna pick this one because maybe people don't know this one because it's not talked about very much. But Dark Age.
Nice.
Want to talk about just steel and swords and dragon heavy metal is Dark Age, and I don't know. I don't know I don't know where you would categorize this not categorize, but where you would put this in your top list of metal records, as a heavy metal fan. I'm obviously being a heavy metal fan. Where do I put this in my top? I probably don't, but it's just one of those gems that you go back to and then you realize how good it actually is. Although it may not make my top 10, 15, 20, 25 even, maybe it makes the top 100. But then you almost forget about it. And then you pull it off the old vinyl shelf, and you play it. And you realize, man, this is a good heavy metal record. It's Dark Age, and again, it has a little bit of that Omen vibe to it at times. Not done quite as well, obviously, as Omen, because they would have gotten bigger. But a good record nonetheless. Just good heavy metal with a little bit of a power metal mix to it. And Dark Age, I'm just showing this, guys, because it probably doesn't get talked about a lot. Probably doesn't get
never even heard of it. I've never heard of it.
Yep.
It's great. It's a good heavy metal record.
It's a cool album. Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's great, and I think it's fairly sought after. I think for its obscurity, I think.
What label is that on, Ken?
Gnarly, I think.
Never even heard of that.
I'm sorry. Hang on.
Yep.
I only got these records for a reason.
No, you're exactly right, Ken.
Gnarly Records.
Yep.
California.
That's why they never got bigger. Omen was on Metal Blade.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if like Metal Blade has repressed this. I wonder if this has gotten a repress. I don't know.
No Remorse reissued.
Oh, there you go. No
remorse.
There you go. So, yeah, great record. Great heavy metal. Just again, another one of those. I'm gonna go with my remaining time here. I'm gonna go with more obscure. What I think is obscure. People may not talk often about. We'll go with that. But good stuff. You guys are looking for something out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it's a very, like you said, Ken, it's a very solid. If you like middle of that era, Dark Age, fits in perfectly with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Alan.
All right. Well, 1984 was sort of a buy one get one free for this band that went on to be a big thing. Most people would expect us to talk about this album, but I actually want to talk about the other one they did in '84, Sign of the Hammer. Weirdo, sketchy graphics aside, this is an incredibly good Manowar album. Love the track list on it. It's not quite as epic as Hail to England, of course, but still, it's got, fun tracks like All Men Play On 10. Animal is, really fast and fun. Thor, the Powerhead, gets that kind of epic vibe going. Mountains is slower, but is really good. Shows off, kind of the grander side of Manowar.
Yep.
Just tons of good stuff. Sign of the Hammer is good. Thunder Pick is fun. The Oath is a great anthem. The real gem, though, the showstopper is the closer with Guyana, A Cult of the Damned.
Such a great fucking song.
Oh, that song is so fucking heavy. And, again, by today's standards, it's ancient history. But, this is coming out, just, a few years after, the whole Jim Jones thing had gone down. And just, that, little intro speech, thank you for the Kool-Aid, Reverend Jim.
Yeah.
That song just builds so fucking well. Yeah. I'm always surprised this album doesn't get talked about more. It's the overlooked album in their discography. People, the first album's fun, kind of cheesy. People like it. It's cool. Everybody latches on to, Into Glory Ride and Hail to England. And then they jump into the Atlantic albums. It's like, but wait, there was another one. Yeah. It's incredibly good that does not get enough love. So, yeah, 2 albums in 1 year, and 2 of the best ones they ever did. So, gotta give the shout out to Manowar there.
I didn't pick any Manowar because at that time I was not into them at all. I didn't start getting into Manowar until around like '98 is when Jeff Wagner was turning me on to them, Zoller, and ever since then it's all. I love that shit. It's so good.
Oh man, with freaking rules.
Yeah.
I didn't know Alan was into Manowar. I knew you were, Marty. That's why I didn't touch Manowar, because I figured Marty's going to pull out Manowar.
Yeah, because Ken's a gentleman. He doesn't pick albums he thinks somebody else is going to pick in the stream.
Turkey, turkey, turkey.
That's right here. Talk to the bird.
I guess I'm up next.
You are up next, Marty. Take it away.
Well, right along with Metallica, this is another album that landed at a very similar time. They're friends, and this album is amazing. First Metal Church.
Yep.
This album. These guys are from Seattle, and what a band! Seriously, what a band! David Wayne's vocals. He's kind of like a J.D. Kimball type. He's got a very raspy, bluesy vocal tone. This album is full of fucking bangers. There is not a bad song on this thing. Highway Star is kind of strange. They end the album on the Deep Purple song Highway Star, which, it doesn't bug me that much, but it seems a little out of place. Beyond the Black, Metal Church, the Merciless Onslaught cover or instrumental, Gods of Wrath. What a fucking powerhouse of a song. This to me is not a thrash album. This is American power metal at its finest. We talked about this a long time ago on our show, Alan. This is probably leaning. A lot of people try to lump this band into thrash. I think the second album, The Dark, which I love just as much, is maybe a little thrashier, but still.
Absolutely.
A little bit, but it's still not.
This is power metal to me. This is power metal. And this album is a complete banger. There is not a bad song on it. If you've never heard this album, my God, get it. It's crazy. If you're a long-time metalhead and you've never heard this album, there's something kind of, you fell off the banana boat somewhere. I don't know.
It's a top 10 metal record.
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yep. Now, Marty, you mentioned before not liking the Motorhead cover on Persecution Mania. What do you think of the Deep Purple cover on Metal Church?
I think it's just passable, but I think it's a little out of place with the rest of the album.
Okay.
I've got a problem with bands that are heavy bands doing covers of songs that have pitch vocals. Like, there was back in the day, like all these, was it Dwell Records? They put out a tribute to Slayer with all these bands, like heavy bands doing Slayer covers. They're playing the music good. It's all, but you got death vocals doing Tom Araya type vocals. It ruins it for me. I want to hear Slayer as fucking Slayer. I don't know. It's weird. Little things like that bug me. If they do it with pitch vocals and they try, then it's a little bit different. I don't know. It's just a weird thing with me. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but yeah. But the Highway Star, it's okay. It's okay. It's just kind of a weird way to end the album.
No, I agree. I just want to point out before we jump back to Ken, we're 2 hours into this stream. We just now got around to talking about Metal Church, which we all agree is a highlight album of the entire American metal history.
Yep.
It once again reinforces how insanely overloaded this year was with incredible releases that it took this long to get to Metal Church. That's crazy. There's at least 2 more I've got sitting here that we haven't gotten to, and we should have, and we will. But yeah, it's just 1984, man. The list goes on and on.
I agree with that.
Ken's going to carry on.
The Cannibal Corpse Zero, the hero rules, man.
Change my mind. Checkmate, libs. And Eric coming in with the sorry, man. At the Gates cover of Captor of Sin slays all day. It's not as good as Captor of Sin. Sorry. Oh wait,
I didn't know At the Gates did Captor of Sin.
Yep. Usurper covering Stormtrooping by the Nuge.
Yikes. You know, it might be one of the best covers I ever heard was Sentenced when they did Maiden. They did The Trooper.
Oh, yeah. That was a good cover.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The way they sped that whole thing up. Oh, my God. It was so good. Yeah.
All right. You're up, Ken.
All right. So I'll keep with the little bit more obscure stuff. And I think this one was repressed not too long ago. Overlooked. Great heavy metal. The sticker even says it's 100% pure metal.
Yes.
Witchcross fit for fight. So good. This is so good. And yeah, there we go. and not many people talk about it. I think
I've never heard of that album. I've never heard that album ever.
Oh, it's like the sticker says, Marty.
100% pure metal.
100% pure metal. It is. It's got some power metal. It's got mostly heavy metal. It's got good solos. It's got great rhythm. It's maybe it's not steel and swords and sorcery kind of metal, but it's just good heavy metal. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know. I think it has been repressed once, maybe twice. This record.
Yeah, they some folks have done like anthology collections for some Witchcraft stuff here and there.
Yeah, this is
really the material's
good.
Out there.
Really good. And I don't see this album on metal channels that I check out. People that talk about heavy metal. Mm-hmm. I don't hear this, ever really mentioned much or anything about it being in anybody's playlist or anything like that. It was definitely in mine for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get this record probably till late 80s. Probably 4 or 5 years after its release, I probably picked this up. But then, as you can see on the sticker up there, it was part of a bargain buy already, at the record store. So, I picked it up and wow. And probably only because it had the sticker, 100% pure metal is probably one of the reasons I picked it up. But good stuff, man. I'm glad Alan had it too because, good heavy metal. So, people are looking for something out of their comfort zone, man. Yeah, Explosive Action Simon says, I need that. You do, Simon. Simon likes metal.
Eric Bauer says, I dig that Witch Cross. It's like Def Leppard and Mercyful Fate had a baby.
Ooh, it's not a bad description, actually.
No,
think about it. With the hard rock tone of Def Leppard and a little bit of that. It's not a bad. That's pretty good, Eric Bauer.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of the Roadrunner classics.
A little more power.
Excellent call, Ken. But Ken, have you ever seen this version of it? This is the Swedish press on, I think, a little label called Zebra or something. It got licensed by Roadrunner real quick.
Yeah, no, I have the Roadrunner. I've never seen that.
It's the other choice. The cover is a darker blue. I don't know if it'll show up well on camera.
Yeah, I kind of see that. Yeah.
But yeah.
You can see it.
Yep. But yeah, it's same album, same track list. There's no other differences. But yeah, excellent choice, Ken. Excellent.
Good record.
Excellent record.
You're up, Alan.
All right. Ken's covering a lot of the obscurities just fine. And we still have some big things that need to be covered. So we haven't talked to this Priest. And this... folks vary a little bit on where they rank this one. This is probably my favorite of this early to mid 80s era for Judas Priest. And not a lot of people pick Screaming for Vengeance over it. Screaming, the good songs are great, but some of the other songs are kind of forgettable for me. But this album, really like this one, almost start to finish. There's almost not a bad track on here. Yes, it looks very dated, with the crazy cover art, and it sounds a little, it sounds very 80s. But you know why? Because it was recorded in the middle of the 1980s. It's supposed to sound that way. But yeah, it's, Judas Priest, they rule the world at that point. Them and Maiden are unstoppable. It's the 1-2 British metal punch that they've conquered the international markets. And every album, everybody's you go nuts for them at this point. After this, of course, they did some interesting things, maybe, but yeah, Defenders of the Faith, they are still roaring loud and proud. It's, solid heavy metal through and through. And we're just now getting to talking about Judas Priest, 2 hours and plus into...
I didn't pick Judas Priest because I was a Maiden guy, and I couldn't listen to Judas Priest because I liked my Iron Maiden. That was my mindset back then.
I've heard other folks, that had that same mindset, and I never got it because, I got into both bands around the same time and liked them pretty evenly.
That's from Austin to you. All right. I'm up next. I can't believe I beat Alan to the punch on this one, but Running Wild.
Gates of Purgatory.
This album was a big deal for me. This was a German band that wasn't Creator, that wasn't Sodom, that wasn't Tankard, that wasn't Destruction. It had its complete own sound to me, and it really connected hard with me. I love the bad English on here. Genghis Khan instead of Genghis Khan, it's Genghis Khan, and this has got
Prisoner of Our Time.
Prisoners of Our Time. That's like their theme song. That was their theme song.
Oh yeah.
Black Demon. Oh my God, great song. Diabolical Force.
Yep.
Adrian, Son of Satan. There's really not a bad song on this album. I mean, granted, everybody kind of gloms onto the pirate metal turn that they took, because let's face it, the riffs got way, way, way better. I mean, Rolf just writes these majestic fucking riffs. They're just crazy, over the top riffs. But this was a very dark record, very satanic. You know, it's like a German band trying to, you know, glean a little of that energy from Venom and, you know, all the other bands that were talking Satan back in the day. But they dropped it in favor of Sailing the Seven Seas and Booty and Plunder. And I don't think this Running Wild would have stood the test of time. I don't think they would have made it the distance that Under a Jolly Roger and all the other
Black Hand Inn.
Yeah, Black Hand Inn.
Death or Glory. Yeah.
Death or Glory. But when I had this on tape. I found it in a Camelot bargain bin for $1, and I listened to it incessantly, tons and tons of times. It was I love the cover too. What a cool album cover. Very cool.
Running Wild, awesome.
Great band. All their shit is great. Now, there's some that aren't as good, but good stuff.
Great discography. You know, it's like you could pick out a track or two in just about every one of their records, every one of their albums, and put a great comp together. You know, it's like
I did that years ago, Ken. I tried putting together like my own little best of Running Wild playlist, and it took me like 3 CDRs to get everything on that I wanted to. Just so many killer tracks. And you're right, Marty, it's a great album, but I think you're also right that had they stayed on that course, they probably would not have lasted as long as they did. And you have to look no further, than one of their colleagues at the time, a band like Iron Angel, similar sound, similar tone, really good stuff. They made 2 albums, and that was kind of, about all anybody heard of them. They got lost in the mix because nothing made them stand out. As much crap as Running Wild took at times about the pirate thing, it made them stand out. It was something people could latch onto. And, but as Metal Mickey pointed out in his recent Running Wild video, it wasn't all just silly pirate stuff. It wasn't every song wasn't just yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. They used the pirate stuff for some songs, but there were a lot of songs about other historical topics, just in general, motorcycle topics. Overall themes of freedom and liberty and stuff that the pirate thing was one aspect. It was a good visual aspect. It gave them an identity, but it wasn't. They weren't just doing silly pirate songs song in and song out, because that probably would have gotten old pretty fast. And I see that with current quote unquote pirate metal bands. I listen to those and they're fun for 2 or 3 songs, and then it just gets old. Running Wild never got old. Wild, they released an album within the past couple of weeks, and it's a great album. They're still nailing it.
I wonder if the pirate themed Running Wild was more of a label ploy as well.
That's a good question, Ken. Carl very much liked bands on Noise to have an identity.
So David was saying, the author of the Noise book, we had him on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, he really liked that. But the accounts that the folks have said is that Ralph he was very into history and stuff, and that he went and saw a movie or play that was a kind of a pirate thing, and he's like, hey, this is all really cool, visually appealing. It had happened right after the disastrous US tour that, they basically got sent home early because they were so poorly received. And they were kind of at a crossroads trying to figure out what to do. And Ralph had seen this pirate thing and was kind of into history and all that anyway, and just felt like, that would all come together. And Carl was, even though it was maybe a weird choice for an image, he liked those bands to have something unique that he could use to sell them. And so, I think it was probably more the band's Ralph's decision, but I'm sure the label basically was happy to take that idea and run with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it hurt him.
No, great band.
I think for every person that maybe, turned their nose up at it, there were 2 other people that listened to it and realized that it was fucking amazing.
Everybody check out Metal Mickey's ranking of the albums. I don't know that I agree with him on a lot of the ranking, but he does a very good job at breaking down all the albums. He did a good job on that. It was a good one. Check out the Metal Mickey channel for that.
Yeah, I'd have him ranked, some things differently too, but he did a nice job on it for sure.
He did. And it is
back to Ken, I believe.
Okay. You know what? I'll go back a little bit to now. This band is very well known today, as his band been for the last few decades. But this particular record, I don't think was much talked about when it was released, because it's probably not their best. It's even for me, I love this band today, and I love their discography, but this probably isn't. I wouldn't put this as my favorite record by the band, but I love her. Warlock, Burning the Witches. Again, another record that, everybody knows Warlock now. I mean, everybody knows, this band today, but I don't think this record quite, I'm going to show it because it's 84. I don't know if people ever talk about this being one of their favorite Warlock records. I don't hear that often. And I'll be honest with you, it's probably not my favorite Warlock record. But I didn't know if anybody else was going to show this, and I wanted everybody to hear Warlock in this conversation. So I pulled out Warlock's Burning the Witches.
I'm glad you showed it, because I don't own a single Warlock album.
Oh, you're kidding. You don't own a single Warlock record?
I actually don't either. I mean,
wow.
I've owned a couple in the past.
That's very surprising. Is there, that's a great, is there a reason why you guys does it not?
I've seen Doro a couple times. She was great. I like some of that stuff. It just never turns up in front of me. It's never a band I'm hunting for. Actually, I just recently watched a Doro Pesch documentary on YouTube that was in German. It was very good. Very good documentary. More recent.
She is fucking metal.
She is totally fucking metal.
She is. Anybody watching, man, Doro Pesch is metal. She sacrificed her life.
She did.
Being a heavy metal band.
Yep, absolutely.
And she, never got married, never had children. She didn't go down those paths of life.
Nope.
Because she wanted to be available and be able to drop everything at a moment's notice to do tours and shows in the name of metal, for heavy metal. That's what she loves. She said she's married to metal. She's a metal goddess, man. It's fucking so that makes me even more glad that I showed this. That again, probably not my favorite Warlock record. It's not, no.
Which is your favorite?
Honestly, I'm gonna say that Triumph and Agony. I love Triumph and Agony. I think for me, because I like Spellbound, which is a record after this, but and then Truest Steel's great. I do like Triumph and Agony so much. Her voice she really got so great with her voice, and she's metal. Her voice resonated so much on that record, on Triumph and Agony, and in the songs, and so that's probably my favorite of them. This maybe third, fourth favorite. I'm fourth maybe. But still, I just wanted to mention it because I didn't know if you guys would, and I just Warlock is a good fucking band, and hails to Doro for
flying the flag for her whole life, man.
Fucking metal queen, man.
Yep.
I know a lot of women get that title in metal, like
Lita Ford,
and some of the old Arch Enemy singer. What was her name?
Angela something.
Angela,
David Chastain,
the metal guys, and that's great. All the power to those fine women. But Doro is the metal queen, man. She sacrificed her life to in the name of metal, and there's no greater sacrifice if you're a fucking metalhead.
Alan.
All right. One of my favorite bands ever, and I think this is most people's favorite album by them. We got to talk Cirith Ungol.
I had it.
King of the Dead.
Great
This
cover.
is second full-length album, and the one where there you go, Ken, absolutely. This is the album where they really go full on apocalyptic metal. Frost and Fire, their debut, is a great album. It still has one foot heavily entrenched in the 70s, which is fine. I love it. It's got a fantastic sound, but this album is very 80s sounding. They have Greg Lindstrom's not on it, of course, which makes a difference, but everything about this album, the killer cover fantasy artwork from Michael Whalen, all the tracks are great. It's not my favorite Cirith Ungol as much as I love it. I think some of their other albums are even a little bit. The One Foot in Hell is amazing. Paradise Lost, although it has some duds on it, has some killer tracks. I play Paradise Lost more than any other Cirith Ungol album.
That Paradise Lost freaking rules. The Troll.
The Troll,
and
the
trilogy. Isn't that the
tracks.
cover they do of what is it? The more
Arthur Brown's Fire.
That's it.
Yep, that's on there. Join the Legion's on there. Before the Lash is on there.
Oh,
so many killers. But I mean, this album's is loaded too. It's got Atom Smasher on it, Black Machine, King of the Dead, crown upon his head, King of all the dead.
Yeah,
nobody sounds like
Baker's voice. Baker's voice.
Baker was born onto this earth, to sing the soundtrack to the apocalypse. That is his destiny. It will happen one day. If he dies first, they will resurrect and reanimate him when the time comes for the final battle. The man's vocals are just insane. I've always loved this band. They've never made a bad album. They're a good example of a band coming back from the grave and actually doing it right. Folks that watch us regularly will know I'm real gun shy about reunion projects and getting the band back together after a long time has passed. These guys have just slayed since they got back together with their new releases. But the old stuff cannot be denied. Cirith Ungol, you get those the iconic, and I don't think it's on here, but the two iconic the skeletons kneeling in prayer to form the Omega. Coolest fucking little band logo thing ever. Yeah. Gotta love it.
I think the poster behind you said you were going to pull that record out.
Yep.
And next to the Jag Panzer and
I'm basically just
two posters behind you because there's the newest Cirith Ungol, and I think that is behind you.
There's a giant Mercyful Fate banner over here, and Don't Break the Oath is framed above the lamp. So yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't gotten the last Cirith Ungol.
It's great, Ken. It is fantastic. You will like it. You will not be disappointed.
This isn't Ken's Cirith Ungol Crypt. Come on, man.
Well, that is the great thing about Ken. While he's of course known and recognized, the Death Metal Authority. He can talk, metal from 1984, just as easily as he can talk Euro death metal or Cyanide's discography or anything else. So yes,
well, he was into this metal stuff before death metal even existed.
I was gonna say there was metal before death metal.
Yeah, exactly.
There was, and some really good metal at that. But now, Marty, it's your turn to pick one.
All right. Well, I'm kind of surprised I beat Ken to the punch on this, but we're going with War with Satan by Venom.
Okay.
This, for me, is the last really good Venom record.
That's fair.
I like Possessed, but it's really rough. The production really sucks. There's some really shitty songs on it. I like Cronus's Calm Before the Storm. I like Demolition Man era Venom even, but this is the last truly good Venom with the original power trio, Mantis, Abaddon, which I will to this day, he is the worst drummer in metal. You watch the Seven Gates of Hell VHS, he is so completely sloppy and out of time. It is annoying. I don't know how the band plays with him because he is rough. His meter is like this through the whole song. It's ridiculous, but they somehow did it. And Yeah, what do you got on here? There's classics on here. At War with Satan took up the first half of the album.
Yep.
Look at me, Satan's child, born of evil, thus defiled. Lyric sheet. Absolutely great. What are the fucking songs? Oh yeah. I don't know. They're not giving me the song titles, and I'm getting too drunk to even fucking worry about it at this point. Genocide, Stand Up and Be Counted, Rip Ride. What a great fucking song. Woman, Leather, and Hell. So campy, but Venom, they were great. They had their place. They influenced a million bands. They influenced Metallica. They influenced all the bands. A lot of the bands that we've shown today, have to do a little nod of appreciation towards this band. We're just three drunk blokes from England, trying to make a bigger stage show than everybody else, trying to throw on an actual theatrical thing. They're shooting videos, shooting VHS videos. They had actual, video videos. They're ahead of their time, singing Satan's music, singing total shock rock type lyrics, talking about Satan and stuff. But they're one of the first ones to do it, man. Hats off to them. I love it.
Yep. One of the first ones to do it very unapologetically, not just trying to cloak it in, witchcraft tones or some kind of occult leanings. It's just like Satan, 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 hail Satan, 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 Satan. Just very overt as they could make it, and it worked. And it became classic.
At war with click tracks.
Yep. No, I agree. It's probably the best Venom record with the original lineup.
I don't know if it's the best, but it's
not the best. The last
really
good. I'm sorry, that's what I meant
really
to say.
good.
The last good. With the original lineup. Although I did like Resurrection. I did like Resurrection.
I did like some of that stuff too. But
Cast in Stone, I liked it.
The best thing about that Cast in Stone, the third LP has got them redoing the old classics, and they kind of rage on it.
Yeah,
those three together, those are good covers of those original songs.
Yeah, So I did like, but like you said, I think the original, power trio of Venom, Abaddon, Mantis, and Kronos.
Yep,
that might have been the last good. I think it's Primeval.
Yeah, I like it. It's not the same, but I like it. It's not as good as the original, the first three.
It's no Welcome to Hell.
No, it certainly is not. It's not black metal.
But yeah,
all right.
Yeah, I had it. I didn't. Yeah, I hadn't shown it yet. But
Ken, you're back.
No, I'm up again.
Talk a lot. I gotta go pee again. Stupid.
Okay. I'll show another. I guess what I'll call obscure one. I don't know if this one's so obscure, so much obscure. I think people might know this one when I show it. Super dark, super evil. You guys like evil satanic metal? They had a real evil streak to this record, but
nice.
Which Walpurgis Night.
Yeah, good
stuff. Just great heavy metal. It's got all the elements of a good heavy metal band. But they had a dark streak to it. They had something a little more evil sounding in the way they were creating their riffage. And I think that's what kind of drew me in. I think that probably drew a lot of their fan base in, was that they were they had this dark streak to it. And, as you can see even on this cover, the evil looking witch there. She's celebrating Walpurgis Night, which is, that's like some satanic kind of thing. So, you knew what you were getting with the, with a cover like that. You see these guys on the back with the Grim Reapers, and you kind of get it. But the music did play into it. It played into the cover, played into the image. So good stuff for me was this, and I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of this band. Have several of their records, but
yeah.
Evil streak heavy metal for sure, man. Stormwitch, good stuff.
Excellent pick, Ken. Yeah, that album I think is most people's favorite. It has a little bit of a rawer vibe to it than most of their later ones. I like a lot of their stuff, but yeah, they got a little more polished over time. Certainly by the fourth album, they were getting a lot cleaned up.
They did. They got a little even more proggy. I don't know if you saw it, Marty. I pulled out Stormwitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have not heard that band, but I've heard Alan talking about them a lot.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah. They always kept the horror element, but yeah, they kind of did like the gothic horror angle, they did, the Dracula and werewolf kind of songs and Frankenstein kind of songs. And it worked well. They always wrote good, hooks into their music, even later on when they did get a little more, cleaned up, and it was never commercial in the FM radio sense, but, definitely they leaned in a little more accessible direction, but they still had good hooks and good songs even later. But yeah,
later Stormwitch is good. It gets a little more polished. Proggy, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
It gets a little more
later albums. Yeah,
it gets definitely more clean. Maybe that's what I'm picking up. Proggy, but it gets a little more clean. It gets it's not quite as dark streaked. But I still enjoy some of the later Stormwitch stuff.
Oh yeah,
probably not as much as the earlier stuff like this one.
Yeah.
But Eric Bauer said, Eric, you should pick it. You should. I mean, if it's not, terribly pricey, I don't know what that goes for. But if it's not terribly pricey, I would definitely pick it up, Eric. Yeah. You won't be disappointed in it.
They've been reissued, so they shouldn't be too bad to pick up.
Yeah, I would say go for it, Eric. If it's not terribly overpriced, I'd pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, the first three albums are all really solid German 80s metal. They would have fit in on the Noise roster so easily alongside bands like Rage and Gravedigger, but they never were. They never were on Noise, which has always surprised me. That's on Scratch Records, which was a real small German label.
Is that what this was? I don't even know. I put my glasses on again. I hadn't, but yeah, Scratch Records.
Yep. Yeah, which I think Scratch also did the Avenger EP before they changed their name to Rage and moved over to Noise.
Avenger
Prayers of Steel.
I have that. That's great EP.
Yep. So yeah, Scratch had a few good metal signs, but they were reportedly a really small operation, so none of their bands really became much. But yeah, I was always surprised Stormwitch never got onto Noise. But having read David's book on Carl, it may have just been that he already felt like between Gravedigger and a couple of bands like that he already had that niche covered, and he just didn't need another band like Stormwitch on his roster at the time.
You know what? As far as I was concerned, Mausoleum could have put out every heavy metal record in the 80s that ever got released. As far as I was concerned, Mausoleum versus Metal Blade. Mausoleum. I try to. If there was a record and it just had the Mausoleum label on, I just immediately bought it.
Yeah, Mausoleum's catalog has a lot of good stuff in it for sure.
Oh.
All right, Alan, you're up next.
All right. Well, I'm surprised Marty hasn't mentioned this one yet, so someone's got to do it. Maybe favorite album by the band, maybe second favorite. I'm not sure. Open the Gates, Manilla Road, 1984. This is the band at their metallic prime. They've got those early albums are fun. Some of them are leaning more in the 70s. Sometimes they're finding their foot, but by Crystal Logic, they were just flat out fucking heavy. And this one follows up, and they don't miss a beat. Again, killer fantasy artwork cover. Just great songs throughout the thing. Some of these songs are getting
faster and more aggressive. There's a thrash. You can tell he's starting to get influenced by that stuff.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit here and there. Yeah, but it's got just big, massive anthems like Ninth Wave on here. Astronomica is classic.
Oh, great song.
Yeah, the Fires of Mars, and those are the Manilla Road tracks I like best from this era, where they slow it down. They almost get a little bit doomy tinges worked into the music. Hour of the Dragon is great on here. Really hard to argue against this. It's again probably would pick Crystal Logic as my favorite over this one, but this runs a strong second on hey, the right day of the week, I might pick this one. That's my favorite.
Crystal
Cannot
Logic.
go that era of Manilla Road. That's their heyday. They of course did lots of other good stuff, but right there around 83, 84, they clicked and just made outstanding stuff.
I didn't pick any of Manilla. I didn't pick Manilla Road because I didn't start getting into them until 89 or 98, 99, 2000.
Oh.
Late to them. Well, I think like a lot of people, that's a band that he finally came back and was able to reap some of the rewards of his past. Whereas when Manilla Road was happening back in the day, not many people gave a shit about Manilla Road, which is sad because it was great fucking stuff.
Yep.
But thankfully, you got to see that people care now, and he got to enjoy some of that success with the last half of his career for sure.
Yes, he did get he finally got the accolades he deserved.
Yep.
All right, Marty, what you got next?
All right, we're gonna go with Trouble.
There it is.
Chicago Psalm. This is called Trouble, but I think everybody refers to this as Psalm 9. This is the white vinyl edition. I bought it for $2.99.
Yep.
In mint condition during a time where the wonderful time of the 90s where people did not give a shit about vinyl. And I say I wish those times would come back because I used to love going into record stores and buying these classics for fucking dirt cheap. But yeah, I mean, this is, thanks to Metal Blade, Volume 1, Volume 2, whatever, those comps turned me on to Trouble. I think my favorite Trouble is Run to the Light, but the first 3 are classics. The first 4 are classics. The fourth album, they started getting a little more stoner rocky, but this album is just really great Chicago doom, traditional doom mixed with traditional heavy metal. They don't sound like stoner doom. It's just really good, dark fucking doom record. The Tempter, Assassin, Bastards Will Pay, Victim of the Insane. Great album. Really, really great. The debut album from this band, iconic T logo, sigil, absolutely great. The Lord will be refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Everybody talked to how about these guys were a Christian band. They called them, I think the label tried to push them as white metal, which they didn't really feel that was a very suitable terminology for them. But they tend to they're kind of like Sabbath. Sabbath tended to sing on the side of the Lord quite often, although they were often misrepresented as being an evil band. If you listen to Black Sabbath's lyrics, there's a lot of positivity and light and Jesus type stuff. And I think Trouble, that's just kind of how they followed suit. They followed the Sabbath trajectory into writing lyrics. Do I think these guys were stone dead Christians? I don't know. Honestly, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Great absolute doom from Chicago. Ken's stomping ground.
Oh yeah. A lot of cool things about that. Even if you want to call them a Christian metal band, that's fine. I always thought they were a good example of how you could do Christian metal very well without just having to beat people over the head with Jesus loves you, la la la, he is the rock. That was always a weakness for a lot of Christian bands was they could play heavy metal just fine, but lyrically they got so stuck on just hammering the message that you got tired of it. And Trouble did not do that. If they had those themes worked into the lyrics, it was much they were much more clever on how they did it, and it worked well. But yeah, lots of neat things about that album. It was the first thing Metal Blade did on colored vinyl. The white vinyl, white metal band kind of connection there was kind of fun. It was the first non-LA area band that Metal Blade signed and released something by. Everything up to that point had been Southern California for the label. And yes, they have that classic, what I think of as a very classic Chicago metal sound, which maybe you can build on. But it seemed like a lot of bands from that era in Chicago had that. I wouldn't call them doomy bands, but they had that doomy tinge overlaying on this classic heavy metal structure with bands like Trouble and Enforcer and Battalion and War Cry and stuff.
I can't stand Trouble.
Why?
The worst fucking band that ever came out of Chicago. But anyways, let's move on. Everybody, I know I just pissed off everybody in the comments, and I get so much shit. I get so much shit from my friends here in Chicago. I cannot fucking stand Trouble.
My weird take on them is I actually like the 90s stoner stuff more than I like the 80s stuff.
I am going to pass on Trouble. Thank you.
That's okay. Can I interest you in some War Cry, good sir?
War Cry, we can talk about War Cry, Funeral Bitch, Death Strike, and Master all day, but Trouble.
There we
go. We could talk about Tyrant's Reign. We could talk about all sorts of Chicago bands with Trouble.
Paradox.
Trouble. You'll find no trouble here.
You guys no trouble with Trouble.
No pun intended.
Not consider trouble at
all. There will be no trouble here. Anyways, we'll move on.
Absolutely.
Whose turn is it?
It is yours.
It's mine. Oh, with that said, I'm going to show this Trouble record. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to keep in the obscure stuff. This one I got for a whopping $1.36. It looks like. I think this is like super power metal E for 1984 with Steel Warrior. You want some, like, again, more.
Look at that old cover.
Oh, look at that
old cover. Colored pencils are back.
I drew that. No.
Your sister
when I was
did,
14. Good.
Huh.
Power metal, I think.
You stumped Professor Steel? Oh,
I don't know this one.
If I recall, it's really good power metal-ish, heavy metal. It says metal music. It should be the law. That's what it says up here. Metal music, it should be the law.
So where are those guys from?
They're from New Jersey. Or New York, actually. New York.
Oh, look at Professor Steel scrambling to his keyboard.
I am. I do not know this one.
Yeah, actually, they have a couple records out. This was the one from '84. It's actually an EP. It's only 4 songs on it, but yeah, pretty obscure. Again, steel meets steel, sorcery metal. Somebody just said Slaughter Destroys. Damn right, Slaughter Destroys. Yep. Now that's a Chicago band.
Brian wins there. Yep.
This is good stuff. If you guys if there's any fans out here looking for something from the '80s, that's again, steel on steel, swords and sorcery kind of metal. This is your jam, then, is Steel Warrior.
That
is cool. Yeah, I do not know this one. I'll have to check that out.
You'll like it. Alan, you'd love it. You're gonna love it. Marty, I don't know. You might. Marty might. Well, if you like Battle Cry, you might like that.
Well, yeah. Colored pencils sold a lot in '84, apparently.
What's that?
Rick says colored pencils sold a lot in '84, apparently.
But in '84, that was like the shit, right? In 1984, as a 14-year-old kid, I'm buying this if I'm into metal, right?
Well,
I'm buying this.
Yeah,
I didn't buy
another 14-year-old kid drew it.
Right. I'm gonna buy, Steel Warriors, man. Be part of the Warrior Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? At the age of 14.
Well, you're gonna have to remortgage the house to get a copy of that, Alan. How do you feel about this? Does this ruin?
I'll trade my turkey hat for it.
Does this ruin your Christmas dreams?
No, it gives me something to ask Santa for.
Oh, right.
Oh, why is it expensive?
I don't know. I've never fucking seen or heard of it.
Oh, I have no idea. I
don't know.
Oh, wait. Well, Aaron the Metal Theologian says Steel Warriors is really bad. I'm warning you.
He says it's really bad. I don't think it's that bad.
All right. Who is up next? It is Alan.
It is me. All right. So Simon's been asking for it for a while, and I've held off long enough. We got to talk. Warlord. The Cannons of
Destruction.
Great album.
Have begun. Not the greatest cover.
The greatest album I don't own.
But yeah, Warlord is unknown, but also well known. Most folks, of course, think Deliver Us. The first thing they did. Is a weird band. It's mostly just a studio project, kind of a sessions, thing. And there's overlap. They had guys coming in and out of the band, but music just freaking incredible, powerful, but yeah, very, very clean at the same time. Very talented, great tracks, start to finish. This is again, they had Deliver Us, which is like one of those little 6-track mini LPs or long EPs. They've got this album, and then they had another album, but it was basically almost just a lot of the songs redone overall. They only had 1 or 2 originals on the last album. So the discography is very weird, which again, it really wasn't a functioning band overall. But yeah, they've come to be, a huge influence on a lot of things to come. And yeah, got this in a little record store in Texas in the mid 90s, that same era, Marty, when not only was, vinyl dead, metal in the US was also very dead. So getting metal vinyl in the mid 90s, I mean, stores were just elated if you would come in and offer them money for it. The store I got this from, the guy, it was a very small store, and the guy had put like a lot of his personal collection stuff out there. And you could tell nobody had even picked these records up, probably, in months, if not years. And I went in and started just, systematically buying my way through his collection over, months and months. And we got to talking, got to know him, really good fella. But this excellent material. I couldn't believe I walked into that store and found he had that and Deliver Us. I bought both of those, and he had the first pressing of Savage's Sirens with the big blue ship cover, sitting there on the racks right next to the newest releases by whatever the hell kids were buying in 1996 CD music.
Somebody mentioned Holy Empire. That is a good record.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good record for later material. And so as somebody else mentioned, Deliver Us.
Deliver Us, yeah, is great. I haven't heard a lot of the Lordian Guard stuff that Samus did later on, but I know a lot of folks really like that.
I had that Lordian Guard on vinyl. I gave it to my buddy Scott for his birthday because he really wanted it.
Good deal. All right.
You know what? I pulled something out real quick. Just a quick.
Go ahead.
1997, I was in Vegas with some buddies. We went to Vegas for a weekend of debauchery, and we went for a few days. But anyways, I went to a record store, looking around. It's fairly nice record stores. I'm picking up a few things here and there, a couple records in my hand. I go over to the DVD or the VHS section, and I'm looking around at movies and stuff, and I pull this one thing out and look like this.
Oh, yep.
And I was like, what's this?
Yep. The video that went with it.
Asked the guy at the counter, I said, is this like what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
And he had an $8. I took the tag off, but it was $8 on this tag. And he says, oh, I'm not sure. I says, is this like the video that came with the record? Like you could order the VHS from the record? Because who had $20 to blow on a VHS at the time in the 80s? I didn't.
Yep.
So is this that? He goes, oh, I don't know. I said, well, do you have like a TV, a VHS I can plug this into, a VHS player? He's like, no. I said, well, I don't really want to pay $8 for something. I don't know what it is. I said, I'd like to see it, to make sure that's what this is. I think it is, says it is. He says, yeah, no. I said, well, can you do anything on the $8 now? You can get it to me for a few bucks or something. And he says, no, I can't really do that. And I'm like, all right. So I'm just kind of looking at him like, well, screw this guy then. You're not going to help me out with this. I'm not going to buy. So I just put my stuff on the counter. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass then. So I start walking out. Well, as I'm walking out, I go through the CD, this aisle of CDs, and I'm literally going to leave the store. I'm not going to make a purchase at this point. Omen, Warning of Danger on CD. I'm walking by, it catches my eye, and I think, well, I'd like to have this on CD. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, no, this guy's already pissed me off, so I'm not gonna buy it. So I put it back and I'm just about to walk out. I said, hey man, hey. And I said, yeah. And he goes, I can do $4 on it. I said, all right, I'll take it for $4. He goes, you want the rest of this stuff? I said, yeah, give me the rest of those records and the CD. So I bought everything. Yeah, this was And the Cannons of Destruction Have Begun. I got it in 1997, the actual VHS that you could have ordered from the record with the slip. I think my record still has a slip in it. This is it, and it's fucking immaculate, and it looks fucking great. And I couldn't believe I got it.
Wow,
that's cool.
I got the VHS. I mean, you can watch it now on YouTube and high def and everything, but to have gotten it in 1997 and I got to like watch that, and I like dubbed it for like 20 people. Yeah, it was like that was just
for $4.
That's
for
cool.
$4. I got it down to $4.
That's the first original copy of that I've seen. Yeah, I've always known about the DVD. I've never seen an original before.
Dude, I
came.
wish I could say that. Oh, I bought this one. I ordered this from the record. No, I didn't. I found it in 1997 at a record store in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nice.
Of all places. But
All right.
that's what happens when you're a metalhead. You go to record stores.
Oh yeah, you do. And I have dreams about record shopping. I love it.
Right?
They're my favorite.
Oh, I'm not the only one.
No. And every time I have the dream, it's always in Detroit. There was, I don't know if there still is. There was a record store called Car City Records. The store didn't really have much of anything. In fact, my friends took me to it. They're like, dude, there isn't anything in here. I'm like, well, let me dig. So I'm digging. But in my dream, it's always Car City Records, but I'm finding like all these really awesome old thrash records. I'm like, oh my God. It's like a dream every time I wake up from. I'm pissed. It's always the same dream too. It's one of those.
They only cost a quarter a piece.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wow. It's like I'm in the 90s where people just were giving fucking vinyl away, but
it's like, anyway, I have those dreams where I'm looking, and there's, the Parallax White Lightning EP, the Excalibur EP, Ethel the Frog on original vinyl, and they're only $1 a piece, and then I wake up.
Yep. Oh my God. Cine Arcadia Production says that sounded like an episode of Pawn Stars. Yep. The heckling or haggling for the Warlord LP or videotape. But it's kind of hard to talk about Metallica, to talk about Metal Church, and not mention this band.
I figured you'd pull that out.
This is it. I've got the vinyl as well and the CD, but this is the original tape I bought back in the day. And 98% of this album was written by Dan Lilker, who went on to form Nuclear Assault with John Conley, and he went on to be in Brutal Truth and a whole bunch of other underground things. But this is their most heavy metal record. This is.
I was going to say that's not thrash yet. That's not thrash.
This isn't thrash. This is just
Glad you said that.
Heavy metal / US power metal, speed metal, whatever you want to call this. But with the vocalist, this was pre Joey Belladonna. This is Neil Turbin on vocals, who had a great voice. This is a great album. It's a really stupid fucking cover, but man, what a great album. I mean, you've got cool. Death Rider, you've got Metal Thrash and Mad, which is a classic. Again,
how do you feel about the cover?
I'm 18. Not a big fan of that song. Panic, Subjugator, Soldiers of Metal, Death from Above, Anthrax, Across the River, and Howling Furies.
Yep.
I'm an Anthrax fan, and I think once they got back together with Joey, their last two albums were really good. I don't really see a lot of people talking about worship music or For All Kings. I think I listened to both those albums a lot. I thought they were really good. But there's a lot of charm and heart and really good songwriting on this first Anthrax album, Fistful of Metal. Was it Metallica? Maybe not, but it definitely sits on the same throne for sure. Good stuff.
What's your favorite by him?
Persistence of Time.
I love Among the Living.
It's a great. I love that record too. But Persistence of Time is Anthrax, but dark. They have a lot of dark themes on that record. Good. That's a good record. I mean, I like a lot of the early stuff too, but not a John Bush fan. I'm not a John Bush fan in Armored Saint. Everybody talks about how great he is. I don't know. Oh my God. Eric Bauer says State of Euphoria is the best. Come on.
I like State of I like
it too, but it's a little goofy. It's a goofy.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Who is next?
Anthrax for me is I like the odd numbered albums a lot more than the even numbered albums. So Fistful, Among the Living, and Persistence a lot more than State of Euphoria or Spreading the Disease.
Right.
Or yeah.
Okay, Ken, you're up next.
Oh, me again? All right, I'll keep in the. I think this record was a little, although it's on a big label, It's on Roadrunner. People talked about this band a lot. This came out in '84. I always thought this. I always liked it. I liked their couple records they put out. Spartan Warrior.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
thrashy heavy metal.
It's a big fucking chickadee.
Yeah. That's
good stuff. It's again, I just want to show some records that don't get talked about a lot. And we're talking about 1984. This was released in '84. It's just got the thrashy heavy metal vibes. Again, probably not going to make anybody's top 10 except the band. The band. This is probably the best album the band's ever heard. But it's solid. It's got a lot of thrash stuff going on. It's got some heavy metal stuff going on. So they blended both together pretty good. And Roadrunner thought it was pretty good, because they put it out. So it's a pretty good, pretty cool stuff. But again, just a record and a release and a band that doesn't get talked about a lot. And it's kind of one of those lost gems forever in the annals of heavy metal. So
yeah,
Spartan Warrior.
Yeah, that's a good pick. In it's a new wave of British heavy metal band that's starting to move out of the new wave of British heavy metal.
They really moved out of it because they got some super thrashy influence on that record. So they really started. They got super thrash. At least to me, I heard a lot of thrashy vibe to it. So it's
yeah. You see those British bands leaving that the new wave of British heavy metal formula behind, and that's a good example of that. Yeah, cool band. They did. I think they did a second album, but I can't remember the name of it.
Why did new wave of British heavy metal just start to die in 1984?
Because things started getting heavier.
Some things were getting heavier. A lot of folks have mentioned that the British music press had completely lost interest, and so as metal things that were coming out then were getting the big thumbs down all of a sudden, and they were kind of starting to focus on other movements and styles, so that they lost a lot of sort of the support, and the music press wasn't there. And I guess a lot of those bands by that point, if you'd been one of the first bands on the scene, you'd already been at it 4 years or so. You'd done your album, you'd done a couple of singles. There were now 100 bands just like you. It's probably about the point where a lot of bands were hitting that age where it's just like, okay, it's probably time to grow up and get a job and take care of the family. I'm not 18 anymore. I'm 22, which was a big difference back then, more so than it is today for folks.
I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get some of those some of our friends that run YouTube channels out of England, trying to get them to embrace that new wave of British death metal. With all these English death metal bands that are coming out, man, they should re-embrace that terminology and use it as a face. Anyway, that's my opinion. But
yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that popping up in a couple of videos.
That's worth 2 bits around here. So, but yeah, cool. Yeah, but just a band that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I'm trying to show more obscure stuff at this point. Because I think we've hit on a lot of the big. Well, there's still a couple big guys nobody's hit on, which
there are.
You guys don't.
Alan.
Yep. All right. Wendy was asking for this one. Wendy's been in the chat all night, holding
Wendy
things
rules.
down.
How you doing,
Thank
Wendy?
you, Wendy.
Thanks
holding down the
Do
fort.
we know Wendy? You guys know Wendy?
I know Wendy from way back in the day. Way back.
Okay. I do not, but glad to have you in the chat tonight, Wendy. But this was one she was hoping would show up, and just been waiting for the right moment. St. Vitus makes their debut in '84 with, again, I never know whether to call these things mini albums or long EPs or what, but 5 really great slabs of Sabbath-inspired doom here. This is obviously Dave Chandler, and Scott Rieger's, just crazy great sound on it. You've got White Magic, Black Magic is classic. My favorite's always been Zombie Hunger. That's such a cool song, and really shows them being that really dirty, grungy, grimy side of doom. Doom metal in the early 80s is really few and far between, and the bands kind of each did their own thing a little bit. You had Candlemass would get the sort of big epic sound. Witchfinder General had a little bit more of the straightforward 4/4 rock sound. And then, yeah, you had St. Vitus just making it sound really creepy and weird and just doing an excellent job of it. So, yeah, definitely had St. Vitus in the stack for tonight.
All right. Well, this is my last one, and I thought I would land on a non-metal album.
Okay.
My wife wanted me to come and show Seven in the Ragged Tiger by Duran Duran, but I told her that Alan would personally fly up here and cut my head off if I did something like that. But
Turkey, don't play that.
I'm gonna have to go with another band. This is a big band for me. I heard them later in my life, but going back to 1984, got to talk about Skinny Puppy. This is a 2 CD set of Bites and Remission. Remission is the 1984 album. This band, if you're a metalhead and you don't like Skinny Puppy, I get it, but man, there's a undeniable darkness that comes along with this music. It's pure electronic music, but I have never heard a more nightmarish band in my entire life than Skinny Puppy. Remission is not their most nightmarish album. It's got the big song on this album is Smothered Hope, but it's got Far Too Frail, Sleeping Beast, a whole bunch out. It's more of their dancier. It's the early dancey stuff. This was before Dwayne Battel was part of the band. After he joined, this shit really got twisted and nightmarish. But Skinny Puppy, Remission, I would really recommend if you're a metalhead and you have a slight interest in electronic music to check out Skinny Puppy, like albums like A Mind the Perpetual Intercourse. And I'm drawing a blank right now because my kid was just standing there wanting to interrupt me. Damn it. Cleanse, Fold, Manipulate, very nightmarish. It's just like this heavy driven industrial music with these nightmarish elements thrown over the top. Amazing stuff. Yeah, exactly, Sean. Skinny Puppy is so much darker than many metal. It's really true. And if you're a metalhead, check them out, especially if you're like, oh, I like Ministry. Well, Skinny Puppy takes big devil shits on Ministry all day long. In fact, Al tried to become a part of Skinny Puppy on the Rabies album, kind of messed him up a little bit, but check out Skinny Puppy. That's what I'm saying. Ken, you're next. I don't think anybody else here has a comment on that.
All right. Well, I have. I mean, it's you guys' show. We can end it whenever.
No, I'm good. Just because I'm done, you got stuff to show. Show it.
Oh, I got rack to show, but we're not. We don't want to see me that long. But a big. Okay, this is a big band. Nobody's shown yet. Big band.
Oh yeah.
Theater. This is a good
album.
record, man.
It's a good album. I mean, I like it.
This is a good record. Might be some people's favorite by Saxon. I don't know if it's my favorite by Saxon, but I think I've heard this mentioned by a lot of people that this is their favorite Saxon record, Crusader. And you can't, there's no bad answer to it. Saxon's got a killer discography. Great, their 70s records were so hard rock, always leaning to the heavier side of hard rock, new wave of British heavy metal. Then, like we said here, there's still some of that obviously on this album, but starting to, like Alan had said, with some of these other bands that were new wave of British heavy metal, starting to break off into the more heavy metal stream of things, a little more of a power metal vibe to them at this point, getting away from the more rock and roll kind of vibe of their 70s and new wave of British heavy metal vibe. Crusader, man. So yeah, good solid record. No one had mentioned it with this point, so I figured for a big band, for a big name band, Saxon.
Yeah, that's a good inclusion.
That's
one people never used to talk about, but I think it's developed a good following over the years.
Yeah, I agree. Just one of those ones that people for some reason they forget about, and they don't. But it does stand the test of time. It's a good record. You put it on today, it's a rocking record. Metal Mayhem keeps talking about Hammer's Rule. I do have that, by the way, Metal Mayhem. I have that record. I did not pull it. I didn't pull everything out. I couldn't pull everything out from 84. But
before we jump off the Saxon tip, I gotta say I liked early Saxon, But
Sure.
I got turned on to these 3 records:
Mm-hmm.
Killing Ground, Lionheart, and The Inner Sanctum. This is Saxon trying to go a bit more power metal influenced.
Yep.
These 3 albums really fucking rule, especially this album in particular is really, 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 really good.
What year is that album?
2000.
It's a lot later.
2001. This is 2004.
I don't have any of those.
This is probably their most power metal record, and this is
Really?
2007.
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah,
And
this
those are-
one. This is my favorite of the 3, but all 3 of these are really good. Really good. This and their latest one, Thunder Heart or Thunder something or other. I don't own it yet, but it's also really, really good. I was really surprised how good these records were. I really check this one out, Ken. Check out Killing Ground. Listen to it on Spotify before you jump in on it. But I really enjoyed these albums a lot.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, see, I don't have any of the later stuff from them. I'm trying to remember what the last Saxon album I bought was like. What's the one? Something about the dogs. Something dog. It's got the word dog in it. Dogs. That's all I think I remember. But Rock the Nations, man.
Oh, Dogs of War.
That's it. Dogs of War.
Okay.
That was the best. I think
Yeah,
that was the last.
Thunderbolt's the latest. It's what I've heard of. It's really good. It's just in league with those 3 for sure. Really, it's the Saxon, early Saxon, but with more of a power metal power and triumph to it. It's really good. They really came around. They played Traverse City, less than a mile from my house. I didn't go, which is so dumb. I don't know why I didn't go.
Poser.
Yeah, it was them and UFO before Pete Day died.
Oh man,
I'm surprised you didn't go to that.
I'm surprised. I'm so dumb. I don't know why I didn't fucking go.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't go to that.
There was apparently nobody there. They're like, well,
Oh.
we're gonna rock who's here, type of thing.
Yep.
Doesn't that suck for a band
does
like
suck.
Saxon and UFO?
Why in the fuck didn't I go to that show? I'm so stupid. Seriously, I could almost hit that building with a rock from where I live. I didn't go.
God.
I didn't want to go see it. I don't want to pay $25. I don't know. Dumb. Anyway, who's
Well,
next?
the problem is you start missing the couch after about being there after about 30 minutes. It's like I feel the same way.
I may
Marty.
have ate too much ramen for dinner. I'm just like a
Yeah.
bloated fucking whale laying on the couch. I'll watch it on YouTube. All right, who's next? Alan.
yeah. I'll go through some fast to start wrapping some things up. Some
I'm gonna go pee while you
again.
do
There's too many good ones to cover, but so yeah, I'll burn through the end of my stack here. A good obscure one that and Ken's had a lot of great obscure ones tonight. One you haven't mentioned yet, Ken. Medieval Steel.
Medieval Steel.
They did their EP in '84. Little band out of Tennessee, if I remember right.
Yeah, Tennessee, Kentucky, something like that.
Yeah, not exactly a haven for metal, but this has long been considered like one of the best of the sort of private press independent releases from the mid '80s US. And this was another band that at least got to come back around and play some of the big festivals in Europe, and were just absolutely blown away by the reception they got. They made this one little EP that's hard to get. Not many people ever heard it, and they went to Greece and played some of these things, and they've got thousands of people chanting the words to every song. So it was really cool that they got recognition eventually. Few 7-inches I'll show off. Sometimes we don't talk a lot about singles as heavy metal, but you had cool stuff like Assassin out of Southern California. This was they did a song on here called Treason that is just an ass-kicking barn burner. It was on one of the compilation albums from the era. Excellent band. Assassin. Another Colorado band, Dead Silence, with the long silence is over 45. This one, I'm trying to remember. I was talked to a guy who used to run a small indie label that did reissue stuff later on, and this was the one band that he was in contact with that he didn't get to release some stuff by. He's like that he really wished he could have. It just they never quite got everything worked out. But it's just like the band sent me the tapes, and I heard the stuff, and it was just great music. It would have been a great album, and we just couldn't get the details worked out to ever get it released. But cool single from Colorado. This is one that a lot of collectors like out of Canada, a band called Minotaur with a burner. Again, just really solid, straightforward, heavy metal, perfect for the time. Few last albums to quickly go through. Should have given this one more attention, but Hellstars, Burning Star. Texas had a huge heavy metal scene in the early days, and Hellstar is one of the best with James Rivera, incredible vocalist.
Pencils again.
I'm sorry, what, Marty?
Colored fucking pencils again. Sorry.
Yeah, this one got reissued with like a Starships, kind of a sci-fi cover, so you don't see this older. This is the old Combat pressing. But yeah, great album. They did 4 incredible albums in their original run. You had Pretty Maids deserves a shout out for Red Hot and Heavy in 1984. This band, of course, got pretty commercial and accessible pretty quickly, but this still has things like Back to Back on it. Red Hot and Heavy, the title track, is a stomper, so excellent things there. You get back over into Germany, you've got the little known but much loved Brain Fever, did Capture the Night that first year. This album is just has such a warm, thick, catchy sound to it. Really, really strong.
That's a good record.
It is a great record.
Warm, thick man booty.
We probably could have used more colored pencils to give him some clothes there, but yeah,
could have given him a pair of shorts at least.
Yeah.
And to wrap up with somebody else that probably needed a little more clothing on the album cover, we mentioned it before, but Savage Grace with Master of Disguise in 1984. You got it. You got that pressing with then it was redone. I think this is Black Dragon with slightly different cover. And of course, the picture disc, they said, guys, you got to change the cover. And like, okay, sure, we'll change the cover. And so they put this on the cover for the picture disc. So I was like, yeah, that's not quite what we had in mind, guys.
Not
kind
quite
of the wrong direction there.
Saying.
But Savage Grace, amazing band. And I always mispronounce the guitarist's name, but really good. They never could quite nail down a stable lineup. Unfortunately, they had, I think, 3 different vocalists on the first 3 album releases.
I know they had at least 2, yeah.
Yeah, it did, but still, great stuff, absolutely. So I'm finally at the bottom of my 1984 stack, and I know folks in the comments are still calling out great stuff like Armored Saints that we haven't gotten to. But I am at the bottom of the stack for the night. So Ken, any more that you'd like to do?
Yeah, I don't. So I try to. For this, guys, and I appreciate you guys for having me on. Thank you so much for talking about.
Thank you for joining us.
To talk about these 1984 releases. But so I try to challenge myself, and I actually didn't research these. I tried to go by memory, and then what I did is I pulled them, and then I checked to make sure they were from 1984. So I did miss stuff like that Medieval Steel because I didn't remember that. And that Brain Fever, I didn't remember that. So then I checked to make sure. There was only like 3 that, like that Exciter was one. I thought that was 84. It was 85. So anyways, I try to challenge myself with my knowledge, which sometimes doesn't work. But anyways, I don't remember every single one of these because I haven't listened to them in a while. But there was one that I think was good. Charon.
What the hell is on that cover?
Yes, somebody blowing like fire.
It looks like a penis in her mouth, or it's his mouth.
Oh, you know what? I mean, someone might think that.
It kind of looks like that cadaver. What was the one we showed a couple weeks ago, Marty? The
big old veiny penis. What?
The carnivorous penis erection thing?
Oh, yeah, carnivorous erection by Regurgitate.
Yeah.
It's like a big old veiny dick. Yeah.
I have that. Chariot, the warrior.
Oh, no. When you mentioned Spartan Warrior, I wondered if you'd show Chariot too.
Chariot, that's what I recall. It's pretty good. It's on Mausoleum, so you know it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a band nobody mentioned tonight, but
yep. We did not. We should have.
There you go. Jurgen says
fire wasn't what I saw. I didn't see either. I saw a big old fucking veiny dick.
It was a flame of fire.
Something.
Wolf on the Edge of the World.
Oh, I should. Look, bad, Alan. Bad.
Edge of the World.
That's a great album. Another Mausoleum classic.
Battle Axe.
Yep.
Power. Here's one. I love this band. I think these are reissued. I think doesn't get talked about. Cuddy Sark Heroes.
Yeah.
What a dumb cover. Jesus Christ.
I don't even know what that is.
Terrible.
It's Heroes. Yeah, it's like Hero. It's Excalibur. He's pulling the sword out of the stone, I guess.
He's not pulling shit out of that stone.
It's awful. Yeah, it is. You're right. It's awful. It's on Mausoleum, so I had to buy it. Here's one that I don't know. Dark Heart.
Oh, that's an excellent album. Excellent.
Shadows of the Night.
Reminds me a lot of Incubus, To the Devil a Daughter.
It does. It's got more of a rock and roll kind of theme.
Yeah. Really good catchy guitar lines.
Demonize, Rites of Chaos.
I haven't seen that in a long time. Oh man, I forgot about that album.
On Ebony Records.
Yep.
That was a good label. I have a ton of Ebony.
Great cover. I like the cover.
More Evil's Message from Denmark.
Yep.
Best song title. Read the song title, Ken. You got to read it.
The song title.
Yep. You know the one.
Evil's Message.
Not that one.
The Devil Wants Me. Son of a Bitch.
And
Take good care of your balls.
There we go.
That's how it reads.
Yeah.
And it's a good song. It's actually a good song.
Honestly, I haven't played that record in so long.
Love
Firepower
this.
by Chateau. This is actually I like this record a lot.
Their best album, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I love.
I do have another one by this is new wave of British heavy metal, if I recall right. Sire.
Yep. I don't think I've heard that one, but yeah,
metal, right? I think.
I believe so.
That guy's afro there. That guy means business.
Fucking mustache is business. It'll go the mustache business that's on the back of that fucking record.
Siren Vein.
Yeah. That's yeah. I haven't heard that in forever.
That's another one on Ebony.
Yep.
Like I said, you look at those guys. I mean, who's not gonna if you're into metal, who's not gonna buy it? I don't know. It could be terrible. I'm still gonna buy it. Steel Tower, Night of the Dog.
Don't know that.
This is probably not really good, but it was on Mausoleum, so I had to buy it. It's more hard rock, heavy metal, and then nobody mentioned Tank.
I don't own any Tank, believe it or not.
I like Tank. Tank's a good band.
I used to have that on tape, but I got rid of it for some fucking reason.
And I could have pulled out 100 more. And honestly, I'm surprised nobody pulled out the Van Halen 1984.
Did you see the
it ain't that kind of
on Facebook, Alan?
I did.
I did.
And
it ain't that kind of
and I should have pulled it. Like I thought about I should probably pull it out. Like the record, I mean. But
don't own it.
Oh, I have it. I have it.
We start showing Van Halen records, and that's when Alan's got to jump.
Jurgen's right. Jurgen's right. Jurgen. I'm sorry. Am I pronouncing that right, sir? Jurgen. Steel Tower, the vocalist of this band, became Heaven's Gates vocalist.
Oh, really?
For Sale and
Living in Hysteria.
Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's right.
That's where I've heard that name before. I didn't make the connection until you said that.
I like those records too.
Yeah. Heaven's Gate was great.
Metal.
Yeah. Excellent German power metal.
Do you like that stuff? Do you like that Heaven's Gate, Marty?
I have not heard it.
Oh.
Really. It's Sasha Payeth's band. He was a guitarist before he became the big, he went on to a big production career. Does excellent production. But yeah, it was Heaven's Gate. He played guitar on that.
Sean is saying nobody pulled
out. I was going to pull that and I forgot to pull
it. Brock, and I think I was at the time I was again. I was trying to challenge myself to remember this stuff, and I looked at that record and I'm like, I don't think it was 84. And
it probably is.
Put it back.
It was 84 or 85. It probably is 84.
I didn't check. Like you said, I try to challenge myself and not research before I. Like I just went to my records. It's
listed as 84. Yeah. It's a good record. It's obviously it's Fate's Warning first steps. It's essentially they're just their demo put on vinyl.
Basically this is the Bonsai Records pressing, which has got a different cover than the US pressing, which is a really bad color pencil. I mean, this is color pencil too, and then they also have a third version of this, which is just the moon on it. Mm-hmm. But the best song on this is The Kiss of Death and Damnation is probably the best song on this record.
That's the version I have.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, they got way better on the album after this, and of course, Awaken the Guardian is fucking eternal classic in my fucking small little boat. But
Marty, that artwork does show up on the Metal Blade Press too.
It does.
Yeah. The here's the first. The first cover is this one.
Yep.
Which, they wish they had colored pencils on this one. But yeah, it's a Metal Blade Press. And so because this cover sucked so bad, they're like, don't worry, guys, we'll make it better. We'll still Metal Blade Press. We'll replace it with this cover art.
Oh, so they did release it as okay.
Yep, they sure did. And then yes, finally later when it got reissued, that's just the cassette J card. But that's that's the best cover this album ever had.
It's not. I like the one where they're overlooking the town, even though it's really terrible. I like it.
They're fun for what they are, but I mean, if you're like a young metal band, you're like, trying to, prove your metal and get up there and conquer the world with your music. And you got your record deal, you're the hot shit in town, and the artist proofs come back. It's like, this is what your album's going to look like, guys. They had to shit their pants when they saw that shit.
Yeah. Like, what is that? What, I don't know. I don't get the night on Brock. What does that mean? First off, what's Brocken?
Brocken, I'm probably going to butcher this. I believe it's a mountain in Germany that's associated with the Walpurgis Night ceremonies and witchcraft paganism stuff. So I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be the witch standing up on Brocken.
That's probably the witch hunter.
Time is the first problem, though. This is like
he's the witch hunter.
That's the witch hunter.
Awful. That's fucking awful.
This is like brunch on Brocken or something. They got the time wrong.
Picnic on Brocken.
So this one, at least they make it evening on Brocken.
Right.
At least dark. But
it's almost like, what's that famous painting, Saturday in the Park kind of thing? Like that famous like.
Well, I just love the expression on her face. It's like, I'm being burned at the stake.
Yeah, whatevs.
So it's like, I wonder what Tiffany and Brittany are doing this weekend at the mall. Oh wait, am I on fire?
Wow, Wendy said she's lots of records mentioned here. I'll have to rewatch and take notes. Wow, somebody's taking notes.
Tea time on Brocken, Brian. Yep, there you go. Yeah, Wendy's mentioned a few other good ones that we have not mentioned tonight. Like on
somebody kept mentioning Hammer's Rule, and I do have that. I didn't realize that was 84.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we covered a lot of ground, and there's no way we're going to get it all because let's admit it. There's granted back then in 84. There were less bands than there are today, but there's still a shit ton of bands and a lot of new bands. And the one thing about the 84, a lot more bands had their own unique sound. Would you agree that times have kind of changed in that regard?
My knee-jerk reaction is yes. At the same time, I do wonder if some of that's just a product of us having heard so much over the years that
true that. Yep.
You don't dive as deep into the bands as you used to. And so you don't really pick up the nuances that give them their individuality the way you did when you were 16 and you played the same handful of tapes for a month straight on your Walkman.
Yep.
So I'm always, my knee-jerk reaction is to agree, but I always do wonder if we were all, 20-year-olds, listening to, Ginger and, Code Orange and stuff, if we wouldn't be so zeroed in on how individualistic all those bands are and how all this old stuff just sounded the same to us. I don't know.
True. I remember back in the day, a friend of mine was in a band here in town. He was big into In Flames, Jester Race, and a bunch of other stuff along those lines. And I was playing him Voivod, Killing Technology. He's like, I don't know, dude. This shit just kind of sounds like glam metal to me. I'm like, I just wanted to punch him in the fucking face repeatedly. I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? Glam metal. But I get it. I mean, whatever era you jump in on, that's what you relate to. And you listen to stuff, you listen to that early Voivod, you listen to a lot of records we've shown tonight. It might sound like glam metal to you if you're used to listening to Rotted or, whatever the hell, Sadist, who knows? The heavier, more extreme as things got, people latch on and think that's normal. You start hearing this old stuff. Maybe Iron Maiden Power Slave sounds like glam to some people. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me, but I came from that. We all came from that era,
Yep. We did.
We made it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Almost 80 people tonight. Wow, that's pretty damn good. And thank you, Mr. Ken, for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure having you as always, and we'll get you back again, my friend.
God. No, anytime, guys, anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you. So this is great, especially for me. I'm obviously always flapping at the gums about death metal. So to go back to 1984 and to show especially some of these lesser known albums that are lying around here in the crypt, it's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Gentlemen,
it's always great talking this stuff with you, Ken. I always learn stuff listening to you. I've seen records here tonight I've never seen before that I'm going to have to go listen to now.
Wow.
Things I've forgotten about. It's always great. You're so into it. You know everything about it. It's just amazing. Great having you on.
Thank you.
And next week, folks, tune in. Same time, Friday night, we'll have our friend King Fowley back to be discussing our favorite albums from Metal Blade Records. So it'll be probably very similar to this album, to this stream, but it'll be great to have King back as always. And they're hot off of a little short run of Texas, The Mighty Deceased, tearing it up, still kicking ass after all these years. So cheers to Ken. Cheers to Ken's Death Metal Crypt. If you are not a subscriber, which chances are if you're watching this, you probably are, definitely jump on down to Ken's Death Metal Crypt. I've got the link in the description. Go give him a subscribe. We want to keep this guy around for a while. So that's how that's going to roll, just like that. And Alan, you always bring the decor and the charm and the beauty to our stream every week. Thank you so much again for classing the place up as always, and your mighty ass hat.
Marty, do you know the difference between me and most other folks?
What?
I make this shit look good.
You make it look fucking awesome. No one makes a twerking turkey hat look quite like you do, my friend. And
I most certainly couldn't have.
So cheers to everybody. Have a good one. Ken, hang on. We're going to chat here in a minute. And take care. Everybody have a good night.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Take care.